no. Come on, where is it?
Dave, it's your Idaho Central app here. Any chance you're missing a debit card? Let's get that taken care of for you. With ICCU's card control, you can turn any card off with the tap of your finger.
You got it.
And back on again. Out, 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 out. The closest Idaho Central Credit Union branch is in your pocket.
It's the fall kickoff sale at Lithia Ford of Boise. We're going all the way so you can score more for your trade-in and trade up to a new Ford truck or SUV today. Visit Lithia Ford of Boise, where Ford begins in Idaho.
It's time for the Riley and Ridge Show, presented by Jackson's on Bronco Nation News. The Riley and Ridge Show takes you into the locker room and the coach's office, giving you a unique perspective on Boise State football from two guys who know a thing or two about what it takes to win on the blue. Combined, they have nearly 3 decades of coaching experience, none of which came from Riley Smith. But he played for the Broncos and won 52 games and 2 Mountain West championships during his 6 years. Kent Riddle won 7 conference championships during his 13 years as an assistant coach at Boise State and has 29 years of coaching experience overall. The Riley and Ridge Show is presented by Jackson's, where 25 cents from each hot dog sold goes directly to the Horseshoe Collective to support Boise State student athletes. Visit a Treasure Valley Jackson's location today. Now, here's Riley Smith and Kent Riddle for another edition of the Riley and Ridge Show, presented by Jackson's on Bronco Nation News.
What's up, Bronco Nation? Welcome back to another episode of the Riley and Ridge Show, sponsored by Jackson's. We're here at the James again. It was fun this weekend being here, and we got 2 special guests tonight. We got former Boise State quarterback Taylor Tharp and O-lineman Daryn Colledge. Appreciate you guys for being here.
Well, thanks for having us. Yeah, we brought in the A-team tonight. We got a sellout last night or Saturday night. Sellout coming up, huge game. So need to get the A-team here. Fired up to be back at the James for sure. I hope everybody that's watching had the opportunity to come down last Saturday. If not, don't miss this Saturday. Be back here Saturday at 5 for a pregame show. There were all sorts of people. Great atmosphere. Weather was perfect. And if you ordered a drink, Daryn Colledge was in there behind the bar.
Oh, yeah.
So you never know who might serve you, who might wait on you. Unbelievable staff overall, but, obviously a good opportunity to get in there and interact with Daryn and, be part of the game day atmosphere down here. On the way out, you can stop by the tailgate at Jackson's, our sponsor. Hopefully everybody got part of the I believe Ahmed had a sack, did he not? So, I think Breezy's probably getting close to getting back. So hopefully we can get the Breezy bundle going on Tuesday. Yeah. But obviously a huge week coming up. Undefeated Washington State coming in here, coming in off a double overtime. One of the most exciting games of the year for sure already. Bronco Stadium's or Albertsons Stadium sold out already. Place going to be rocking Saturday, and I can't imagine a better place to be. But you guys both played in some of those environments. I mean, Tharpy, huge game. kind of the coming out party against Nevada, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I was about to say easy, Red. There's not too many careers to call on my career.
So Daryn, I remember Daryn at one point till we hit COVID had more starts than anybody in Boise State history. And I think, the COVID year probably obliterated that by something, but
I think I saw the O-lineman record for a long time. Kellen was actually the first one to beat me. He beat me by one game. And I think he has me to thank, because back when I played, we didn't play 13 games. we had to play our 11 or 12. So I'm a little behind. But those COVID year guys, man, I think some of those guys are still on COVID, aren't they? That's like 7 or 8 years that some of these dudes have played.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I probably would have stayed here for 8 years. I think everybody knows I love college football, but I don't know, 100 games at offensive line might have been a tough one at BSU.
Okay, Daryn says that, but obviously went on, had a great career in the NFL, Super Bowl champion, and would you go like 9 years without missing a game or something?
Yeah, I continued my streak here until my ninth season at Miami. I had a combination of a concussion, a bad back, and being old, all happened in 1 week, and I missed my very first game. But it's actually a mixed bag. Like I really would have loved to make my whole career. I was super disappointed when I missed that game because I always felt like I was relying on somebody. But the reason I missed a game was because an independent doctor said I wasn't cleared for concussion protocol. And as disappointed as I was, as mad as I was, my streak came to an end. I was like, wow, there's actually somebody out there for the first time ever who's like, you're not ready to play. Where I was like, heck yeah, I'm going to go play. Like, I'm not missing any games.
I was going to say, I mean, you certainly, I kind of came up through college football in these years and Tharp a little bit, but it was like, hey, shake it off, you'll be fine, right? Yeah. And then to actually, as we learn more through science and all that stuff, to realize like, hey, there actually are injuries that you can't see, and maybe we need to protect these guys from themselves a little bit.
Well, obviously, I've made some mistakes. I own a bar now. So like I haven't done everything right. I'm actually working at my bar. So obviously I've done some things to my brain and my body that have not set me up for the ultimate success. So
I think when you played in the undocumented concussion era, when somebody says, how many concussions did you have? And you go, well, I don't really remember. There's a few here, maybe
I might have had
a couple of times.
They missed a game.
They said, are you okay? And I was definitely concussed, and I said, yep. And they said, get back in there.
Cool.
Take your word for it. Shake it off.
Guys,
and I'm a quarterback. I mean,
what player are we running?
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I mean, it's necessary, right? I mean, we think about the safety of the athletes and all the changes, and I was on staff when a lot of things were changing, from like booth reviews and concussion stuff, and being on the sideline, knowing that if somebody got dinged up or showed those signs, like we got to get them out, and comes to mind like Leighton Vander Esch and when he had his concussions. I mean, I was in the locker room with him, and you got to look out for the guys, right? And it's the most important thing, because there's life after football.
And it took us a long time to realize, the effects like might not be this week or next week. It might be a year from now or 10 years from now or stuff like that. And college football is obviously in a better place now. Football in general is in a better place now for realizing that and protecting the guys. And, it's funny because everybody gets bent out of shape about like the big hit you see.
Yeah.
But as people like part of the game, now you kind of appreciate that. Like, hey, that was a necessary step. And you'd probably rather over officiate it than under officiate it at this point till we learn more. So
I mean, there's so much. I mean, obviously there's a dollar factor there. Like the money's invested in these quarterbacks, the running back, wide receivers, the longevity of the game, and the people we want to watch play, and the fact that I'm competing against an 11-year-old this week in fantasy league, right? I've got some concerns about my guys that are questionable on my roster. I want those guys protected, but it's one of those things like, we are an entertainment-based business. Yeah. Do we miss the big hits? Did the NFL obviously do years and years of those highlight reels of watching that stuff? For sure. Is it hard as I sit there with nobody with no health care now from the NFL, that I'm like, oh man, I remember, there's definitely arguments being made for both sides, but I don't want to see the damage that a lot of these guys have taken long-term. I've got buddies that I played with that are, that have night terrors, that can't go up staircases, that are dead today from either suicide or accidents, whether they're drug related or not, that are definitely affected by the things that they did in the game. And that's a hard thing to see, because I see all those men as men and family members and sons and husbands. And that's a tough thing. And I want to see these guys protected. But I also know that there's a dude at a bus stop right now that would go do the exact same job for a hell of a lot less than these guys are doing it for. So I respect both sides of that coin as I sit on the outside looking in.
But that's probably something for you guys all to talk about. But something when you're in it and you're with the people every day, it's a lot more human than it is the highlight. Like, hey, we all love the highlights too, right?
Yeah.
But we also understand the other part of it. Like, yeah, that guy's got to, get up, go to class tomorrow. He's got to function the rest of the semester. He's got to make a living for his family, all that stuff. And, we generally don't get too deep here, but this is actually like a good,
I was just thinking topic. I could put a bow on it. I mean, so like Daryn's record, right? I didn't know the extent of it. I knew when I was a younger guy and he was older, he never missed a game, and just like reliable for somebody like that. And I think to your point, Rid, like there's so much that goes into, building a team and right, like off-season workouts and in the old days, right, being a part of a program 2, 3, 4, 5 years where the brotherhood is real and strong. And back in our days, like you would do just about anything for the guys to your left and right because you've poured so much into it. And so, crazy from a quarterback's perspective that doesn't, bang against guys every day, but still when you get hit hard. But there's never, like Riley knows too, there's just never a doubt if you can play, you're going to play, because when you've built that respect with each other and the brotherhood and, you're tough as nails or whatever it is, like nobody's pulling themselves out. And so that's just the mentality piece of it. Like it's a violent game. Guys that play it have to be a certain type of dude as far as tough. And it's guys put a lot in behind the scenes that I don't think people take into account. So nobody's pulling themselves out, but it is something where, the game's changed, right?
Absolutely.
And it's tough too. Like you're competing on a daily basis with another guy that's right behind you. And like Tom Brady and Drew Bledsoe, like you go out and you're injured or you pull yourself out, there's going to be a guy that is going to come in and try to take your spot. So that's always in the back of your mind too.
So where you had like 100 plus games, in a row, I might've set the record for most games consecutive as a backup. I think I was the guy most consistently on the sideline, number 2 on the headset, waiting for that chance.
Ready to go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I mean, I spent a lot of games watching the starter out there, Z, and, one play away or 5 turnovers away from.
Should we go to a different corner here? Gotcha. Gloves up.
No, I love Z, and I learned a lot from him. But, the point is just guys, you're guys out there. Yeah. If something happens and the next guy up, you never know. So
totally different mentality.
Right.
Handles too, right? Won that game.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. Handed a speed sweep off and
get hit in the head or
get that one. Got to knock things loose.
I remember that one.
Yep. I wasn't running much, Rid, back in those days. T Flick stayed in the pocket. Best he could.
Good move.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like I said, it's funny to think about that in one sense though, how much football has changed in 20 years, and then also think that was only 20 years ago. In one instance it's not long, and the other, like, God, look at all the changes. And obviously a lot of change going on now, trying to figure out conferences and all that stuff. Football's so much different on the field too. All the technology we have to monitor, guys, GPS,
the bras,
data,
how many reps they're taking. Yeah, I mean, this can go. I mean, this show can go 90 different directions with this conversation. But like back when we're on a journey here. Like Flick said, the difference when I played in college, my mentality of why I had all those starts was always like, I never wanted to let my guys down. Like it wasn't my combination, my coaches. I felt so fortunate to be in the position I was, being a kid from North Pole, Alaska, like not having the football experience, being like, and being the young guy, especially when I started as a redshirt freshman, and having the old guys like Rob Vine, Scott Huff around me, that I'm like, I got to live up to the expectations here. I got to fill Matt Hill's shoes. I wasn't going to let guys down. And then all of a sudden it just became this thing where I was just available and ready. And then in the NFL, it was one of those things where it was like, there was a dude behind me all the time. And I always want to be the guy the coaches had to go right past in the list and be like, well, Daryn's healthy. Then we're going to make sure the backup is ready for right guard or a different position. And now these dudes are almost professionals now, right? They're worried about NIL and transfer portals and what their Instagram, like, luckily I grew up in a world where like you didn't have a camera phone, you didn't have social media. Like I wouldn't make it in this era probably. So it's one of those things where these guys are already starting to talk to an agent or whatever it is. They're taking care, they're looking themselves as professional athletes already. And that's right, wrong, or indifferent. The game is absolutely changed. I feel bad for the coaches that had to go through that evolution. Guys like Andy that were the first group of like transfer portal, NIL, like, hey, here's the whole shotgun blast. You're going to get it at the muzzle. Good luck and survive. And the rest of us are trying to
figure out how to navigate.
Yeah. How do you navigate that? Right. How do you go somewhere nobody's ever been and deal with athletes you've never had to deal with? I mean, you've already got to deal with a bunch of teenagers who you have already told are the greatest thing in the world and your team needs them to win. Now we're actually going to pay them too. It's like, whew. At least they told me that when I came in, but the day I showed up, they're like, no, we got you now. Like, you're set. You're not going anywhere. And if you do go anywhere, you're going to sit like 7 years before you're ever going to be able to play a game again. So Boise's got you locked in.
Even more so in the NFL, right? Like, you sign a contract and
for sure
they can cut you, but you can't cut them.
Yeah, exactly. There's no transfer. And I'm going to let you know, there's no NIL for a left guard going in the NFL. Nobody's super excited to be like, hey, could you represent our product?
All right.
So
maybe the first athlete. Now we got all these State Farm commercials. Were you not the first athlete on?
I was
State
actually
Farm?
one of the first athletes on State Farm. Most people don't know that. Me and Jason Spitz got to do a TV commercial. I think you can actually find it on YouTube or some dredge of a MySpace page. But Adrian Peterson was making his run as a Minnesota Viking, and he was doing a commercial, and we ended up singing Frank Sinatra any given Sunday. And me and Jason Spitz ended up in the commercial. It was supposed to be like Aaron or somebody like that. And the penance they were offering, he wasn't showing up for, even at that time in his career. And Jason and I were like, for that money and a free flight to like for one day, we'll show up. Like I'll take $3,000 or whatever they paid us to show up. I was like, damn right. And I think that commercial aired. I mean, I thought we were a big part of it, but it made it for that season. But I never got to be the State Farm guy. But I feel like I laid that groundwork.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like Kellen's record of 54 to my 53 games. I feel like I laid some groundwork. I'm just not getting this back credit that I probably deserve. But we'll see how this Reggie Bush lawsuit goes. Then I might call State Farm up, and I might call everybody up in this town. We'll see. I'm going to start begging for cash.
So I've been sitting here and I'm like waiting to kind of put a bow on, the program was built on guys like DC, right? I mean, and Rid knows this, but I mean, there's so many tough guys. You go back through the early teams when we started winning, of guys like DC that were just, the program guys were like, guys like me came in as freshmen, and you didn't have to be told by the coaches what to do, how to do it, when to do it. You just had to watch, right? Mm-hmm. And I learned a lot from watching. And to my story, it's a little different because I did spend 4 years kind of on the sideline waiting the turn. And so when I did get an opportunity to play, when I did get that opportunity to start, ain't no chance in heck I was, going to give that up.
Yeah.
And I can still remember, struggling early that year. We lose to Washington. Coach Pete pulls me aside on the tarmac at 2 a.m. and just rips me a new one. I mean, absolutely rips me. Guys are hearing it. And then tells me to come into his office when we get back to the facility so he can rip me some more.
That was the public ribbing.
But again, where was I to go? I'm a senior. I'm finally the starter. And, that really actually helped me. I wanted to win the Washington game, but it was just one of those reset modes of go back to work, right? Yeah. And do it the way we've been doing it years prior, which is just go back to work and put in the time. Now, transitioning, nobody probably knows this, but I did, in the non-NIL era, promote Allen Marsh Travel Center. Had a nice 30-second commercial. I got paid $100.
Nice.
Not a BSU athlete. Yeah. I was, but it's really bad. You can find that one.
Yeah, we're gonna have to look that up.
That one's out there, and if you find it, please don't put it out. But
if you find it, I'll buy you a drink.
And then I did when I was playing for arena football. I got a LASIK eye surgery, I did a LASIK testimonial and got a free LASIK out of it.
Nice.
So I was rolling in the dough back then.
I don't know if you guys know this, but Daryn was a professional athlete in Green Bay. Tharp was a professional athlete in Boise. For the burn.
That's right.
Well,
Boise
actually,
Burn, baby.
worldwide, right?
Boise
Didn't you?
Burn. I mean, it was on a long journey to be the starting quarterback for the Boise Burn. I will say this. So, I mean, I have a good year, senior year, get a chance with the Panthers. I get cut. This is 08, so like the economy is in a weird place. Arena football is in, Arena 1 is not actually happening. No NFL Europe. So it was a weird time of like, I got cut from an NFL team and was like right there, and there was nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Absolutely nowhere to go. Not that I would have landed any places if there were some to go, but
You never know, right?
I ended up here, and the Boise Burn year, playing arena football, and the style of quarterback I am, like short, accurate, quick passes. I had the most fun that year. And if you're a quarterback or you've watched that, like we're throwing it every single down.
Oh, yeah.
And it's quick and it's a lot of fun.
No
and
doubt.
I would have kept playing arena as long as they'd have let me. I had shoulder surgery and stuff, but it's like, that was a fun league. I saw myself doing that for a while. So that was fun.
Yeah. We
and
grew,
Boise was fun.
we grew up watching like arena football. Like our buddy, his dad was like one of the owners for the Jacksonville Sharks. And so we were ball boys for the Jacksonville Sharks for like,
Earlier.
No,
we probably watched you play. But it was crazy because we thought it was
You're
the
that
coolest
age
thing
now.
ever.
I probably watched you play.
I'll tell you what.
I was probably ball boy out there.
This podcast, I'm assuming we tell some stories. The best
Oh yeah.
ish talking I ever received. There's a lot of people from the stands that talk, but so arena setting, they're right on top of you, right there. So this was actually like my second year. I'm third string or second and a half string at the Arizona Rattlers. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I'm with the Utah Blaze, but we're in Arizona. And I'll just summarize it. There's a guy that's a huge fan, and he's going down the stretch lines of all the opponent people on my team, and he's just picking us off one by one.
Oh yeah.
And he's got sisters' names, he's got background
Nice.
information,
Respect
and
that.
it's dead
Yeah.
quiet. And and to be honest, it was really funny.
Yeah.
So you're kind of dreading it of like, you're looking around like, oh no, I think I'm next. And he gets to me and he just goes, Tharp, the backup quarterback. You're so bad. I clicked on your picture on the website. It took me back to the homepage. And it was at that moment I was like, I think that's my career. That's it. He's right. I think I checked it. It went right back to
That
the
was
homepage.
ironically actually a question that somebody wrote in about. We seem to get a question every week about best trash talk. They want to know
The best?
Somebody wanted to know most creative trash talk you heard from opposing fans or players
That one's pretty good.
during
Like, well, these guys never got to play at Rice. You play at Rice,
heard
that's an
about this.
educated base.
And I brought that up.
Yeah, like they made jokes that I didn't
Tulsa,
get.
right?
Yeah, like I had to look up the jokes later when I got home. I was like, I'm a state school guy. Like I'm not like North Pole, Alaska, bro. I'm like, I wasn't crushing the GPA. I'm like, there's guys making statements to me like they're like, you couldn't be in bottom of my trig class. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like I don't know that stuff. So
They got personal.
It got personal.
Like,
Yeah.
same deal. They looked up everybody's bio.
Yeah.
La Tech, I think, was
La Tech was a good
La
one.
Tech was a good
I
one.
remember him.
I actually really enjoyed going to
I think
Tulsa.
we'll get Donnie on here later, but Donnie cramped up. And
Oh,
do you
well,
remember that?
I don't remember that one, but I do remember the La Tech at Jovan Hutchinson.
Oh,
and
Joe Vesey? Oh.
and Jovan, and we got another like story down the line to tell about the greatest touchdown in the history of Boise State that probably nobody remembers, which
We're
is
gonna get the
when
V's on
when
here.
Jovan the V's, who's one of my favorite people in the world.
Is he
But-
getting smaller? I think he's getting
No,
smaller.
he was
nowadays.
huge. I
Oh,
just saw him
okay.
Saturday.
Okay.
Dude is jacked. And
Biggest-
I love the V's. Anyway, yeah, there's a dude at La Tech, and he's just it's so quiet. He's got a little bit of draw in his voice. He's probably 15 beers deep, and he's just nailing us from the sideline. And he's right behind us. And the V's, was loved on the team, but he just a passionate dude. And he'd gotten a new tattoo on his calf, and it was like a spider web, right? So he had this new spider web tattoo. I actually don't know how long he'd had it, but I think it had a reference as a receiver that he was catching everything, right?
Sticky hands.
I really don't know. And anyway, he gets to Jovan and he just goes, "Hey, Hutchinson." And I swear the whole stadium went quiet, and everybody on our sideline was like, "Oh, what's he gonna say to the Bees?" And I won't use the exact words, but he just said, "That's the dumbest effing tattoo I've ever seen. You ain't caught shit all game." And it was fun. I love the V's, but it was just one of those moments like our own team had to laugh a little bit. Yeah. I mean, it's like
those guys were, again, there's like, 100 people behind the bench.
Right.
So you can hear every one of them.
Oh yeah.
And they were creative. They were good.
I've heard some funny stuff. I've heard the only time I was like, I've never been like caught up by anybody, right? I've never been like, oh, you're hurting my feelings. Like I laugh. I love when people do some research. My rookie year in the NFL, we played at Philadelphia in primetime football, like my first primetime night game. And we're getting hyped up. We did the hotel thing all day. I'm getting ready for my first Sunday night under the lights. We're in Philly. I know what's on the line. I'm getting ready to play Jeremiah Trotter and all these guys. And here's a freshman, a rookie, just trying to survive. And we're lined up in the tunnel, and they're doing our announcements and then their announcements. And we're going out at one at a time, right? So it's a wide receiver. It's our left tackle. I hear, here comes Daryn Colledge, North Pole, Alaska, Boise State, the whole 9 yards. I hit the end of the tunnel, and no crap. I put my foot down in the floor, and they go, Daryn Colledge. And the whole stadium goes, sucks. And I mean, like, I stumbled. Like, I was like, what they know? Like, I'm going to be terrible today, right? And then each guy after me sucks. So I was like, okay, thank God it's not me.
Yeah.
No kidding. The Green Bay Packers, the rest of the season, never came out in a single file line for the whole rest of the year. Every game before that, single file line. Each one got announced. Next game and every game from then on, the very first guy got announced, the whole team ran out of the tunnel. They were like, we're not playing anymore. Like Philly's probably the one place that like would actually fly, but we were like, we're not taking any chances anymore. But
no shot.
Literally stutter stepped. I was like, oh God, they know I'm going to be terrible. And sure enough, Jeremiah Trotter tried to knock me out like the second play of the game, but it took me a little while to recover from that emotionally.
I want to hear what Riley's experiences were, but like Fresno was bad. Fresno was tough because you got, for our fans, right? There's a visitor's locker room. You got to walk like this gauntlet through the Fresno fans to get even into the stadium. And, they've been drinking, they've been talking, and it's rough around there. And we got stopped. There's like a rope to stop all the fans. So they were mad because we had to run down. And I'll remember it blatantly. The kid couldn't have been more than 10 years old. And he's standing there. His dad's got his hands on his shoulders. And I think his dad pointed right at me. He said something like, that's the quarterback. And the kid just flipped me off.
I met that kid.
Yeah.
When he was 8. When he was 8, my very first game in Fresno, like I'm doing the same thing. I'm walking down, I'm holding on Jeff Pittman. I'm in my cleats because it's a grass game. So I'm in my studs. I'm trying to get down the ramp. And this kid runs over and I'm like, oh, this kid's like pumped up to like see football players. And he just comes up, flips me off. He's like, you suck. I was like 8 years old. He must have been this kid. I'm like,
kid.
That kid's probably 28 now. If I see him, I'd still get him.
I guarantee that kid's still at Fresno games.
I remember walking off the field after we won in 2001. And those guys are like, the fans they're like right in your face. Some of them were on the field, some of them were behind the rope, whatever. But they're like, you're dog meat. I don't know what they want.
Yeah, they're barking at you.
But I get it. You live in Fresno, and the Bulldogs are your team. So I mean,
it was insane.
What was your
Fresno too?
Yeah,
and we talk about UCF all the time. Like they were vicious because it got delayed due to weather. And so we came out thinking there wasn't going to be a lot of people. It's midnight when we're starting the game, and it was packed. All the students, it's like they left, went to a bar, and came back because they were twice as drunk as they were when we first got out there. And they were on all of our ass. Like, even my family was walking by, my little cousin, they're picking on him. And it was nuts. But Fresno's number one for sure. Like, walking down that tunnel and through everybody, they're on you off the bat, and especially halftime. And also that stadium, they're fighting each other. Like, they're they're just
you get up in that game, you just wait till the fans beat each other up. And
Tharp, I had a question about talking shit and being a backup quarterback, because I went through that too, and it was like that's who they picked out, and they would pick on you. And then even when I switched to tight end, one of my buddies, Colt Fulton, is a backup quarterback now, and they go after him every single game, and he chirps back, and he just keeps going, and then he becomes the easy target for the rest of the game. Did you have to experience that?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, we live a life in the shadows as the second or third string guys. But I mean, you're not noticed until you're noticed, right? Or have to go out there, and you might have all your stuff at practice that everybody on the team knows about. But yeah, if you're that number 2 guy, I mean, your job's pretty clear. It's, try to stay mentally involved.
Mhm.
For us back in the day, it was signal guys, and get the call. But you walk over just to take a sip of Gatorade. You haven't done anything all game, and
They're on
somebody's yelling at you about.
They don't even let you have a helmet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's like.
Why are you answering the phone?
Yeah.
Give the phone to the starter. I mean, and you just kind of like look at them. You want to say something, but they're right. And you just go back to your business,
right.
and then you kind of mull over it for like a quarter. Tell the other quarterbacks, like, you want to know what this dude said to me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we were very often ahead by a lot, which kind of ended a lot of those debates.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
I'm about to go in because we're up 40.
No doubt.
Yeah, that happened to us in Tulsa. Like, I remember we went out to Tulsa and played them. They had a pretty good defense. So I was like, oh, okay, we're gonna have our hands full. It's a challenge. And their student section was right behind us. A bunch of frat guys been drinking the whole time, having a good time, and they are leaning into us, just chirping. And then by halftime, we're killing them. Like they've already folded. We're like, okay, never mind. These dudes really don't want to play. We come out at halftime, and I literally looked right at them. I was like, you guys stay the whole game? Like, and they're like, oh man, we're hardcore. We're in this to the end. Then they started chirping at their own team. And then they're like, hey, take the starting quarterback out. And then I'm like, I start to get to know a couple of these guys over like them talking trash. And I'm like, hey guys, like, I'm not trying to play anymore. Like, we're up by like 40. I'm trying to go home. Like, I'm done. I'm ready. I need my backup in. And they're like, all right, well, who's your backup? I was like, well, my backup right now is Derek Kishbaugh. So I need you guys to get behind him and get this guy in. Yeah. So next thing you know, you start hearing this chant, Kishbaugh. It's like 2 dudes, and it's 4 dudes. Kishbaugh. Next thing you know, it's like 8, 10. It's like this whole student section's like, oh, Kishbaugh. Chris Strasser's walking up and down the sidelines, and he just looks over and goes, Kishbaugh, you're in. Whole crowd. Kishbaugh pops up, has a great rest of the game. I'm like kicking my head. I'm like, oh, that's a win.
The best part of that is like Strass on the headset. He's like, we got to put Kishbaugh. Finally,
these guys aren't going to shut up. That's your goal.
Yeah. So I got a story on the other side of the let's put Tharp in, and Rid's going to remember this. This is a gem. And so I mean, yeah, I was first of all lucky. I played in an era where like a lot of blowout wins. I got in a lot as a backup, and there was a couple times I think when I was a redshirt freshman or sophomore where I was like 4th on the depth chart, and we were beating teams so bad that I think like the second and third string guys were already in the game, and I'm like, I might get in. Like I'm the 4th string. I don't even know what plays we got on
my red shirt.
I've been thinking about what's going on after the game for a while. Yeah.
Me.
So we go down to Georgia 05, and okay, so tough game, right?
Oh, I got to drink them on.
I'm the backup. First year as the backup. I'd won the backup job, right? It's a big win for me. And and DC will remember like going into that game. It was the summer of the song Georgia.
Yeah, Georgia on my mind or whatever.
Georgia on my mind.
Georgia.
Every
day,
practice,
every stretch,
right? Yeah. And so I won't get into all the details, but we're in the second quarter, and unfortunately Z's had a tough start, few turnovers, and so before his last turnover, right? And again, I'm on the headset, so I've been sworn to secrecy by Pete and all these offensive guys. Like, there's a lot of stuff you hear on the headset, and you
can't repeat it.
You're not allowed to repeat it. And
that's a literal talk with everybody. That's
the first talk I had. Yeah.
Yep.
The nest. You're in the nest.
Well, this one's worth repeating. So
all those guys are out of coach. We're fine.
Yeah. Pete will laugh at this one. But so I remember Hawk gets on the headset on the offensive side, and I think Z's just throwing a pick. And we're down big, and all Hawk says to Pete, and Pete's really mad in the booth. I mean, he's frustrated. And Hawk says, what do you want to do, Pete? Should we put Taylor in? And like within a millisecond, Pete goes, no. I mean, it's bad, right? For Z. Like the option might be to put me in. Yeah. He goes, no. I don't want to put that mother bleeping in either. And on that, I mean, so I'm on the headset. You hear that, you know, humble pie. Bush Hamden and I look at each other. Bush kind of looks at me like, damn. Sorry.
They're not putting me in either.
Yeah. And then Hawk goes, Pete, the quarterbacks are on the headset. And there's like silence. And Pete's like, dang. And he goes, Taylor, are you there? Yeah, coach, I'm here. He goes, stay ready.
Keep stretching.
He clicks off. And the end of that story is literally the next drive. I think dehydrated, fumbles. And so the most dejected I ever heard Coach Pete, not wanting to put somebody in, he clicks on, he just said, Taylor, warm up. I took the headset off in Athens, Georgia, you know, but I went in, did okay. I moved the ball a little bit, but I'll never forget like grabbing the ball to warm up, just like, dang, I
don't think I got the face.
I don't know if I don't know if I'm gonna get a pass play called here. Because
I wish we could pull up video because I saw it after the game, but Hawk had like the best halftime walk off the field interview of all time.
Oh my God!
Whoever it was, I think it might have been Aaron Andrews.
Yeah.
Like asked him like, so you made a quarterback change. Well, you know, like what was behind that? And he goes like, did you watch?
I don't think we ever watched the game tape. I think Strauss just had to sit in the room for 2 hours and watch. I remember George. I was so hyped up for that game. Obviously, it was my senior year. I was actually playing an All-American. There was a junior at Georgia, and I was like, this is my first chance to like really, really show off. It's an SEC team. And Coach Pete hands us a gift. He's like, hey, first play, we're gonna open up. We're watching the 20 before, and he's
naked.
like, we're opened up naked to your side.
to H flat.
Yeah, H flat. And I'm like, so I'm in the huddle. I know the call's already coming. We're running on the field, and I'm playing with Tad Miller at that time. And God, I love Tad, dude. He was strong as an ox and built like a lab. Like, I come in that huddle, and we get the call. We're waiting for the TV timeout, and I'm like, Tad, we're setting a tempo. First play on this kid. If you're uncovered, I'm going to set him up and we're going to knock him down. And Tad just gives me yeah, Daryn. Yeah. And I'm like, all right. Sure as enough, dude, this kid's got nobody on the outside of him. I open up like I've got to reach like the state of Florida. Oh boy stands up, me tries to run. I pick him. I grab him with one hand. Tad hits him so hard. This kid dumps on his head. Tad lands on him. I land on Tad. I hear Tad, yeah! I hear the crowd go nuts, and I'm like, oh, my God. The ball's already going the other way. The linebackers got it. Tad and I are in a pile, and I'm like, oh, we're going to lose.
And we really generally counted on DC to run down anybody that might score.
I was wrapped up. My Tad had my leg.
Guy we had on offense.
I still remember that the SEC ball, right? It was the first game of the season, so we didn't really know the depth chart, but we thought you kind of think you know it. And so you've studied the two deep. And reminder, I get in the second quarter. It's not exactly like fourth quarter. And I remember looking at the entire defense, and they all looked the part. They're all like, foaming out the mouth, like
shirts
this
up,
250 at linebacker. And didn't recognize any of them. It was like, who are these guys? They're like they're 4-string dudes. Like
some dude they got from like one of the local frats was already in. I'm like, he blew his red shirt, but he's only on the team for the weekend.
Breathing down. I was like, hey.
Two dudes got dropped off in like a prison truck. They were like on work release. I was like, unbelievable. Dude, who are these guys?
I still blame the police escort to that game.
Oh yeah, no question.
I think that the police escort purposefully took a bunch of kids from Boise, Idaho, with no, Greek life. Weird route in Athens, Georgia, to go down Fraternity Lane in Athens, Georgia.
Murder's Row,
which was 2 hours before kickoff, and there happened to be a zillion college students, men and women, in the front yard partying like they should.
Yeah,
and what that did to the Boise State football team on the bus is supposed to be focused was that caused a bit of a log jam on the right side of the bus where everybody on the left side crawled over the guys on the right side to get a view of what was happening. And it was kind of like a moment of, we don't have any of this in Boise.
It's legit down there.
Stayed down the street and it was like a 45-minute drive or whatever.
Stayed out of harm's way until we got to the stadium. And then I swear the police escort did not have to take us that route.
No.
But it
roundabout.
Worked. It worked, Georgia.
Mental warfare.
Keep doing it.
No doubt. That's an unknown, I believe, football trick. Go back to when I was at Army at West Point, like people complain like, you guys took us like the back way, and it took 45 minutes longer than we thought,
Yeah, I assume we.
And not one time has any coach or administrator ever told them that. I think the cops just do that stuff on their own.
Oh yeah, totally. Well, they're gamers. I assume we take everybody to Hill Road, like Hill Road, Hyde Park, bring them back down, slow them all down, let them try to see some of the local talent or whatever, and then they just try to get them a roundabout way, hit a couple stop signs, some construction. By the time they get here, they're just frustrated and ready to go home.
There are a ton of questions coming in. I know you guys are seeing some of those, but you mentioned it earlier, guys. Somebody's wanting to know your favorite and most memorable games on the Blue. I know you talked about Saturday, Washington State, probably maybe a record crowd, Rid. They were fourth highest ever. Could be maybe a record crowd with the light show and everything else going on. But
so I think both these guys were here. The original record crowd was versus Oregon State.
Yep.
At night in like 03, probably 02, 03, somewhere in there. I have a picture of that in my office. Like that was the original, and it's obviously grown since then. But
I have so many. I mean, it's so many amazing memories on the Blue, like games like that. Like I remember when Helmendahl rushed for 5 TDs. Like I have games that I'm like the dominance. The funny ones though, I should say the ones I remember most are seriously the funny ones, like things that went weird, things that went wrong. I remember Hawaii coming here once and playing in December and showing up and everybody asking them all the questions about the cold, and a bunch of their guys and their running backs show up and they're out in warmups with no shirts on. And I was like, okay, like I guess you're proving your point. And then they're down like 30 at the half, and we're marching in 2 minutes up 30 points in 2 minutes. And we make a completion, and all of a sudden we spike it down there to make a kick to go up 33 or whatever it's going to be. And it goes to a TV timeout, and their entire defense, their offense is already trying to leave the field. The defense is jumping around, and their linebackers running around behind the ref going, "Hey, bro, just give it to him. We don't care. Like, I'm cold. Like, just give him the 3." Like, it's stuff like that I'm like, that's the stuff that sticks with me, man. I have so many amazing memories, like Chris Carr getting knocked out by BYU's kicker 2 times in a row, like literally a body bag.
Yeah.
And then him shanking the kick so we beat BYU here at home. It's like, it's those funny stories that I remember the most. Like beating Oregon State, like the record crowds, like all the amazing wins are awesome. But it's really the memories with the guys and our experience together that I'm like, man, those are the great ones.
It's funny because you were talking about the Tulsa and the Rice, guys talking, like, I remember that because we're up by so much, or in Rice's case, down by so much. But, but like sitting there on the sideline, it's like, we got to laugh about this. Like, so one time you can pay attention, or La Tech, or, when we beat San Jose 77 to whatever. I mean,
I remember going to San Jose, playing them on ESPN at 9 in the morning, because back then we couldn't get an ESPN game, and Coach Hawk had taken that Fresno anytime, any place mentality. We go to overtime, and I'm a captain. I'm a junior, I think, at that time. I'm a captain. I walk out there with the other 2 captains, and nobody knows the rules of overtime because we'd never been in a game. We'd dominated everybody at that point. We'd never sat down and been like, hey, man, if we ever go to double overtime or overtime, we should probably know the rules. So we're out there like talking to the ref like, hey, man, so say we do want the ball. Like, what does that exactly mean if we want the ball? Like, that was just dumb stuff like that. You're like, I don't know what we're doing. Like, we are totally lost, and all the coaches are over there. Somebody tell us what to do.
Gerald Alexander with the block on a PAT that saves the game. We get to go into OT and win.
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of games in my, 03 to 07 career, like I said, a lot of good ones watching from the sideline and being a part of it. But a great seat. Don't screw the signals up.
It's important.
But, that 07 season, so after the Fiesta Bowl year, right, which in the eyes of the Boise State fan base, it was a down year, winning 10 games. It was a tough one for us, we just gone undefeated, and rightfully so. Like, expectations were high. But it wasn't the best game I played, but the most memorable is obviously the Nevada game, right? It's the Kaepernick, and
Colin who?
Never heard of her.
Never heard of it. But yeah, I mean,
60 on 'em.
that was, I think, the highest scoring game in the history of college football at the time, because it ended up like 69, 67, 4 overtimes.
Basketball game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, I remember watching the film, and there was a lot of times like we could have probably ended it early or something happened. But again, it went the way it went, and the result was the result. But, I've like, my favorite moment was the 2-point conversion. Because it was one of the, it was called hoist, which it still ran hoist.
Oh, yeah.
So it is 4 guys to one side, and you work through every scenario. And kind of the last one they tell you is going to happen is,
The swing.
Yeah, the swing route, which if they bring like all this pressure, and that's exactly what happened. So it was like we did all the other scenarios in practice, and then all of a sudden the game happens, and the dude's coming right at me, and just, because I was coached well by a lot of these guys, like just threw it right to Jeremy Avery. I think it was like the Little Giants clip. Like, I think it stuck right in his face mask. And
Bro.
we score. Probably my least favorite memory was, I think, after the second or third overtime, we scored. We went like the first 4 plays of overtime were touchdowns. If you fans out there remember, it was like we scored on the 25, first 10, they scored, ripped a run. We scored. It was like a crazy game. And I remember going to the sideline with my water bottle, and I won't do it with this, but I took the water bottle trying to get the fans riled up like we were about to win the game. And I'm doing one of these like things that probably a quarterback should get on the headset and talk to his coach. And then they scored again, and it was like, crap. I think I celebrated a little too early, but yeah, I mean, that's the game I remember most.
That's legit.
Yeah. That was obviously a huge, program win then, because if Nevada wins that, like, who knows where their program goes
right
at that point. So that was a huge.
Yeah, they're probably still holding that against you.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, man.
Brandon Bailey says, totally wish we had Tharp for 3 more years.
An 8-year Tharp.
Thank you, Brandon. Appreciate that, brother.
All right.
Long time.
This guy says, I definitely went to one of Tharp's burn games. Those were fun.
I wanted to play for the Burn.
Those were fun, man. I'm telling you, you got paid $200.
DC
It was like $250 a week if you won. I swear it was like $205 if you lost. Talk about semi-pro incentive.
I think it worked out better.
I'll just say, like, we were a good team. We were second best in the league to Spokane, but we were rolling. We had a bunch of good players on that team. We had guys that should have been or were in camps and had made their way to Boise for the Arena 2. And so we had a talented team, a great coach, Brent Winter. Still love that guy. But I swear it was the most fun I'd had, because it was like Boise State finished, go on this path, come back, and you're playing arena football in the town that you just got done playing college football in. And then we were good. We were playing, the fan base was there. Those games were really fun. And then, not going to lie, like, after the games, were a lot of fun to hit the town. They fed us. Like, I'm not just being real. Like, it was a great time in my life at an early age to be playing arena football in Boise.
Pretty sure Anthony Davis was playing for the Stampede at that time, right? The Celtics, former Celtics for. Like, we had a lot of stars in town at that time.
That's awesome.
I actually remember coming back for a game, because obviously that was going when I was playing the league. And I remember telling Alex Guerrero that I was like, I'm going to come back and do this for 1 year when I retire. And I'm just going to get a bunch of sponsors from the town to match my salary, and I'm going to donate it all. Because I was like, I just want to come back and play once, because I wanted to relive my high school dream and play defense. I'm like, because I thought I was coming to Boise State to play defense. I had this plan to play defense and get abs and like and look the part. And then they're like, you're gonna be an O-lineman. I was 300 pounds. I'm like, I'm going back. I'm going back to play defense, and the Arena League's gonna let me. I don't live with a whole lot of regrets in my life, but the 2 football regrets I really have was the Burn died before I got a chance to come back and play. And I really, really wanted to play in the Italian Football League for 1 year. I had one goal, and that was play. Tharp can actually tell you, I called him right after I was retired. So I left Italy, lived there for 3 months to retire from the NFL, because I knew if I was here, I would go back to work because I didn't have anything to do. And I was living in Florence, and I went up and took a trip up to Bolzano, fell in love with the town, and I called up Tharp and said, hey, what's it take for a guy to get in the Italian Football League? And he goes, they'll let you in. And I was like, okay.
There's not going to be a problem.
I started making some calls, and then my wife literally looked at me and was like, we can't stay here. Like, we have kids like getting ready for school. We got to go back to we got to go start a family and live in, our community. So we left and did that. But those two things, I'm like, those are the only regrets I really have in my whole football career, that I'm like, I really, really wish I would have done that for 1 year.
So what did you learn while you were in Italy those 3 months?
That you can drink and play football. Like, you can actually like live a normal life and play good football.
Yeah.
Did you not learn how to make some wine at that point? I mean,
No, I never.
When did that come into it?
My wine business?
Yeah.
We actually started my wine company, Three Fat Guys, me and 2 other offensive linemen. We started that right after our rookie year in the NFL. So literally started out as a joke.
If you guys haven't tried this, like,
we actually make
get some Three Fat Guys wine.
It's funny. We don't take ourselves very serious, but we take the wine serious. We started as a joke because we were 3 offensive linemen who were looking for something to give away, donate. That was not our jersey. No, again, nobody cares about a left guard and a center and a right guard's jersey, right? You play with Brett Favre, you play with Aaron Rodgers. Like, that's what people want. So we were like, what's something fun we can give away, do at charity events, have some fun with, and then get rid of just enough that we can drink the other half for free. And that's how Three Fat Guys started. We started 126 cases that very first year. We teamed up with Charles Woodson. He actually made our wine, and then and his winemaker. And then now we make, I think this year we'll make 25,000 cases. So like, it's fun. Like it's great. My buddy Tony, my partner Tony Mall, longtime buddy, a Nevada guy, makes great wine. Terrible football player, and that's just because he's from Nevada. But he works it every single day down in Sonoma, and it's his life and his passion.
But serious, like, award winning.
Yeah.
I hope whoever's watching this, like, seriously, go grab a bottle, try it out.
Please, it'll help Tony's kids get through school. Makes no difference to me anymore. I only show up for the fun stuff. Like, I don't make a dime off it, but Tony's got to get his kids through college.
Rid, you mentioned we get some of the same questions every week, but another one we got here for Daryn. What was the worst thing and the worst thing you got and the worst thing you gave all in a pileup?
Oh, in college and in the pros. I've need people in the junk on purpose for sure. I had a dude, actually, when I was playing college ball here, Lee Marks was my running back, and Lee Marks was killing it, having a great game. And he got into a pile up. And as I was known for covering the pile. Like, it was one of the things. I played downfield a lot, and I got a lot of dudes that turned their heads, and I was covering the huddle. I was covering the pile up, and Lee got tackled, and a dude grabbed his face mask and pretty much like turned his head around like an owl. And I could see it was on purpose. I could see the dude raking it. And I flew in on this pile and grabbed Lee perfectly. And I don't know, through some like O-line ninjutsu, I stuck my knee in this dude's throat, and my other one hit him right in the lower regions. And I was pulling on Lee to get him off the pile, but not on purpose. I'm just pulling down into this guy over and over and over again. And the ref is screaming at me, and he's like, "Get off it. I can see what you're doing." And I'm like, "I don't know what you're talking about. I'm trying to get my guy off the pile. I know what you're doing." I'm like, yeah. So me and this guy had this back and forth. That was probably the worst I've ever gotten a dude, like, back and forth. I've been involved in a pile that somebody peed on once. So not on purpose. I'm pretty sure he got hit like in the kidneys. But yeah, I've been involved in ones that I've been semi-defecated on, I guess would be the best experience. I've also been hit so hard I've defecated myself. So, it's just, it's a matter of life. When you play 15 years of football, like,
bound to happen.
Yeah, like, I've played sick, I've played injured, I've been hit hard enough in the kidneys to hurt myself. So
Taylor, somebody was asking you about what it was like calling the Statue of Liberty play in the Fiesta Bowl.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that.
It was your call, wasn't it?
That's the story. I mean, Wikipedia is a little misleading. Like, I was not the offense coordinator and did not literally
you added your
call the play. Yeah, so here's what happened. This is a neat story and, like, cool for Coach Pete. But it's shout out to kind of being immersed with the staff. And Riley probably remembers, like, you earn a little bit of respect to being able to recommend stuff.
For sure.
So yeah, so it's a Fiesta Bowl, and we had all these cool plays. Gosh, we had so many cool plays, and sometimes throughout the season, like, all the fun plays you practice, you never get to. And,
right.
As a young kid, you're like, we should have run the double reverse. Like, would have worked. But we ran a play early in that game. So those of you that know it, that was technically to set up the statue later. It was a quick screen to Vinny Peretta, and it was the first play was no huddle, quick count, right? So we break it, everybody runs the line up in a bubble, and we throw it to Vinny, like boom, quick count. But it was the exact same formation that we run statue out of as well. And I mean, Oklahoma just like they were so fast, so they fly to it. So at halftime, we're sitting around making adjustments, and I had seen that and kind of knew our play that was statue. We had a shift in a motion on it, right? Big shift motion. So pre-snap. So there's a lot of flavor to it. And so it started at halftime. We were kind of going around, and I just brought it up. Don't know if I'm going to get told to shut up, but I just said, hey,
It could have happened.
right. Yeah. That had happened before too. I have those stories. Yeah. But yeah, I just said to Hars and Pete, just, hey, if we get to statue, like the way they played Vinny on that quick screen, we need to come out and we just need to line up and go. Right. And yeah, it was one of those moments that you're kind of like, yeah, that's a good idea, and so I remember looking at Bush like, they bought it. No, so they made the change. They talked to some guys, right? It was like, hey, if we run statue, we're going to just call it quick in the huddle, go out and line up. Well, so third quarter goes on, the game, fourth quarter, I actually at one point in the fourth quarter, I think I clicked on the headset when I probably shouldn't have and reminded the offensive staff that we still have statue because it was
it's in our back pocket.
It was the one play I had made a change to at halftime. So it's in case you guys had forgotten.
You got to be your advocate.
Kind of has statue. Yeah. So I advocated it. And they were kind of like, this is the fourth quarter, Taylor, like, we got to get on the left hash. And so they were nice about it. And so we don't go, everything plays out in the fourth, right? Hook and ladder, all this stuff, crazy stuff. Well, we get to overtime and Hars is on the headset going through all the plays we still have. And I'm sure Rid remembers and now we have all the fun plays are on the table, right? Yeah. Vinny Peretta's crack pass, we got the double throwback to Schumann, like Hars is bringing it all out. And so I got this confidence that I'm like, I know what I'm talking about here. and I click on before overtime and say again, and don't forget statue, right? I'm just like, let's make this. So they do want me to stop talking about statue, but Pete comes over and kind of a conversation on the sideline. And Coach Pete had already, I think, made the decision that if it came to it, he knew that was our play. Yeah. So where I didn't call it, but Pete and the guys that get paid to do it, they were already on it. And Pete said it and kind of not that he needed me to say, heck yeah, but he knew. And so we get to that. There's never a doubt. You guys know that, watched the game 1,000 times. Pete knew what we were doing. The play was there. We come out, we go no huddle. If you watch it again, we're lucky we didn't get a penalty called because we did line up fast and the receivers, J-Rab, Legadoo, those guys were out there. They hadn't practiced it enough to where Z did a great job of looking out there and making sure we got set because we broke really fast. And then obviously we did snap it fast and OU flowed and we hit it backside. So
it's awesome.
And then the story ends where Pete and I are hugging after the game and everybody's just going nuts. And I mean, yeah, I didn't call the play. Believe me, I didn't call the play. But Pete's he gets on this, he's like, statue, we're hugging it out. And then he gets on the post-game presser or the post-game podium. And he basically just says, and I didn't hear it at the time. He just said, yeah, our backup quarterback's been calling for that play all game. And I think he said my name and Bush because we were there at the halftime. Yeah. So he says it on live TV, and I didn't know it. I get back to my phone. I've got 100 zillion text messages of people yo, Coach Pete just said you called the play. And I'm like, I'll take credit. But, but I certainly, I give credit where it's due. Yeah.
You guys did. I wasn't there, so but you guys did.
Oh, yeah. You're
changed the ball handling too, right?
Yeah.
On the Friday practice.
And that's all Nick Lomax. Shout out Nick Lomax. Big 6'6" kid, Lake Oswego.
Never heard of her.
Lomax, Guitar Hero.
Oh, never mind. Nick. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, we changed it early in the year because we ran that play at Idaho. Lomax was the one. We were messing around with the statue, and Z would hand it on his hip and all this. Lomax had these long arms, and he was messing around. He's the one that went behind the back first. And I think everybody at the time was like, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But nobody has go gadget arms like Lomax. Like we're gonna fumble. But yeah, and so Z picked it up, and I think I tried statue a few times in practice, and my clumsy ass like fumbled or hit it on my love handle or something. But
it is funny, the life of a story,
right?
Yeah,
like how this goes, like whatever. But that was the 2-point play like all along. And they knew they were going for 2 and all this stuff, but the life of the story,
it's awesome.
Kind of takes it home. So
did you get a call? Did you get to make up the signals too? I remember that as a backup quarterback was probably one of the most fun times in my experience.
I mean, this is again back when not every one of our games was on TV. Right?
It makes it even better.
You actually have hand signals.
Coach Sanford, RD was a player, but like when I got here, a lot of the signals were already. There's quite a few that make sense. There's also quite a few that are probably inappropriate.
Yeah,
but they make sense. Like it's a nonverbal communication, right? So the guy on the field has to know exactly. And there's a lot of verbiage in our offense back then. Yeah, so it was fun to come up with signals.
Yeah,
because we'd sit there like come up with new plays with Pete and Hars. Like every week was a new offense, so you'd have to come up with all these new plays and new signals. Right. We had a majority of our time was like, what's this signal going to be? So it was fun knowing that like. I don't think it'd be the same now because we could come up with fun stuff.
Oh yeah, we got vetoed a lot.
Yeah, right.
There was a bunch of stuff that as soon as it was signaled, like everybody knew.
Everyone knew.
Yeah. Like the O-line knew what it was.
Yeah, you're not going to get past that twice. Like, all right, cool, we got that play once.
Statue call just going like this, or
statue was just hold up like Statue of Liberty.
Yeah,
yeah.
That was pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Well, and then we asked why the Michigans of the world did what the Michigans of the world did, right?
Yeah, I think that was by the time we actually ran it, it was card call anyway. So
33.
Daryn, somebody wanted to know, Daryn, the Tequila Gus wanted to know, going from Green Bay to Miami, how different was the lifestyle, and does location have any impact for player work ethic?
Oh God, I guess I'm a long way from the business now, so I can tell all the truths. As soon as I got to Miami, I knew a bigger challenge was ahead of me than anywhere I'd ever played. Right. So a kid from North Pole, Alaska, coming to Boise, like when I came here, this was a big shift for me. This is a big city compared to where the place I'm coming from. So I, no different than any other freshman, came in here, made a million mistakes, like partied, drank, got bad grades, had finally somebody in my life say like, hey, bro, you want to be a success? Like, here's what you got to do, right? Left here and went to Green Bay, probably one of the greatest things to ever happen to me and was an easy fit for me. A small town, college style community. Football was the focus. There's 3 bars. You can't go out with anybody not knowing who you are. So you stay out of trouble, right? You maybe go on the bye week down in Milwaukee or Chicago. The offseason, you can get in trouble. But for the season, you're separated. You're busy. You're focused. I look at places like New England, exact same way, away from Boston. They're in a neighborhood, like the community. I had told everybody, like, all the stuff you hear about the NFL, all the shows you see, it's a joke, right? None of that's real because not a lot of guys had gone before me. There wasn't a lot of mentors that came back here to BSU and said, hey, Daryn, here's what to expect. Be ready for it. So I just assumed, okay, this was my normal life. Like all the shows had just been a joke. I went to Arizona and I was like, they're all true. Like all this stuff that's going to get you in trouble and distract you is right here. And it'll even happen to a fat white guy from North Pole, Alaska, right? Like you don't have to be that good looking. You just have to be a professional athlete. Miami was that on like a 10, right? There was trouble to be found everywhere if you wanted to find it. And certain guys want to be in that lifestyle and certain guys want to be a part of that. And you need real leadership in a locker room to make that work. And that's no different.
Fortunate for you, you were a veteran at that point.
Right? I was a veteran at that point, right? I got there, but I tried to instill some of those values I learned in Green Bay and the things that we'd done in Arizona. I tried to bring those to Miami, and we had a chance to be a lot better than we were. We got some injuries that didn't work our way. We were on a brand new offense coordinator. Some things didn't bounce our way, but we had a chance to be really competitive. Beat New England at home, went on a nice run, but dudes would then go get into trouble, get arrested on the weekend, and you're like, when you only got 46 guys on a roster, 1 or 2 arrests, and you got yourself some problems. So the distractions are there. It takes real leadership, and that's why anybody that wins a championship in the NFL, I mean, it's an amazing thing because the amount of work and the amount of luck that all line up with that it's like this rare meeting of like just like an eclipse. It's like, man, we just happened to get there. unless you have true leadership and long-term stuff in your community and you've built that like New England had for years, like Kansas City's doing, like those kind of things. And in the stuff we have in college now, you need that leadership in there to create long-term sustainable cultures that can win games. Because if you don't, I mean, even now we're starting to see in college, some of that creep is starting to happen here. There's different distractions here than have ever been here. It's making a change. But this community is a lot different the community than you're going to run into in a Vegas or a San Diego or one of the biggest cities. It's just a different kind of community, the way it embraces you and takes care of you.
We were talking to before the show, and this really kind of applied to both of you, maybe on different levels, but the need to come in and perform today and be a starter today versus the need to develop. And obviously at the quarterback level, but you redshirted, Daryn.
I gray shirted.
Great.
I was one of the original gray shirt programs.
Yeah. But you know, I think about that, how much development you showed. Tharp, you talked about it, like red shirt, then play. But you know, just for you guys to talk about that, really relative to your own positions, but even Daryn, I mean, you sat there and watched Aaron Rodgers sit on the bench.
Yeah.
I mean, and develop. And I'm sure he's
for 3 years. He did nothing, right?
Jordan Love sit there and develop. I mean, you know, like when you go to a place, you talk about culture, and everybody kind of understands the need to develop.
Yeah.
And like, it's not all about me, it's about the team. I got to do this before I'm ready to go out there. Again, we talked about it, so I'll just let you guys go.
Yeah, I was super fortunate to come here because I left being a defensive lineman in Alaska with very little football experience to come and learn a position when I got here that I didn't even know I was going to play and knew nothing about. But I was surrounded by guys like Scott Huff, Rob Vine, Matt Hill. Like, I mean, Matt would be the first person to tell you, like, he would go home and complain to his wife about this freshman that will not stop asking questions. But those dudes, truthfully, during that time, like, there's plenty of great stories about those guys being college guys and all the things you do in college, but every one of them was a hard-working blue-collar dude who cared about the team. We didn't have hazing. It was like, hey, you're here to do a job. Let's do it. And I'm going to make you as good as I can and help you be good, you know? And I was fortunate enough to leave that relationship and learn from those guys and try to carry that on in my career, that when I went to Green Bay, we had drafted 4 offensive linemen because they had lost a bunch of guys. And I came into the same thing. Like, I had guys there in Mark Tauscher and Chad Clifton who said, hey, there's no rookie hazing. There's no, like, well, you have a job to do. We're all professionals. We're going to show you how to do it and give you, but we need you to come in and do a job and help us win games because everyone's ass is on the line, right? This is a job and they will fire us if we're not doing it well. And we built a culture around that. And then you got guys like Brett, and then you got guys like Aaron that learned that and then brought it up. And then you could bring a guy in like Charles Woodson, and that's what led to a championship. It was a couple pieces here and there, and then all of a sudden you had a culture in the locker room to win a championship, and then like a puff of smoke, it was gone, right? It's a different team in a different place, and you never find that again, or you're always trying to kind of find those pieces. And I've just been super fortunate in my career, especially early, to be around those kind of guys that set that standard for me, where this wasn't a joke. This was a job. Let's do it the best we can.
And it's cool. That's kind of how Boise is as well. Like Dart brought it up earlier. Like Harsin would always say, like, in order to be a good leader, you got to be a good soldier first. And having guys like you before us just keep passing it down and passing it down. Like when I came in as a freshman, like you said, it wasn't you going to the coaches trying to figure out what you have to do. It was players showing you the way and making sure that you're held accountable on a daily basis. And that comes with both the football lifestyle, and they're like, listen, I was a freshman before, like Boise's a lot of fun. Like they show you how to do both, like enjoy your experience, but also do your job, because you're here ultimately to live out your dream, but there's high standards here. This is our professional football team in Boise. So it was like that from the second I stepped foot on campus. And then as a young guy, you're like, all right, these guys passed it down to me. Now it's my job to do that for the next guys. And I think that's how Boise State continues to grow through all of that.
Absolutely. Boy, I hope that some of that stuff continues on with the new age, you know, and building a program out. I think Coach D is doing a great job. But like, you know, you're doing a great job. You know, people want to be here and be a part of it because of what the program stands for, what he stands for. I truly believe like it's hard to maintain a culture now that develops guys, right? And it's, what are you doing for me now? And I mean, like, it's hard to come in as a freshman and play, right? It is, especially at the quarterback position. There are guys that can do it, but I mean, what it takes to come in and be able to play early at a young age, let alone have success at a young age, like it's darn near impossible. And, you know, I'm somebody like, sit me next to Captain America over here, like, you know, play. And I love this guy because it's incredible what he accomplished with that run. You know, here at BSU, setting the tone and then winning a freaking championship. Like it's awesome to have, you know, DC as somebody I can, you know, was a teammate with and as a friend. But, you know, my story is a little different. Like Rid knows I was a late bloomer in high school, right? So if it's not for a late senior year run at throwing for a bunch of yards, I probably don't get recruited. Same thing here, right? It took me for sure years to get ready to play. And I mean, yeah, I might have earned a backup job 3 years in, but that didn't mean I was ready to go be the guy, you know, and it took, and I had a point in time like, hey, if there's a transfer portal at the end of my sophomore year, I tell you what, I was close. Like I was on that line. Thankfully I had a dad and stable that was like, where are you going to go? What are you going to do? And I didn't have those answers. So go back to work. But so to then, you know, endure and persevere and stay in a program for 4.5 years and then get your opportunity. I mean, I just like, it's hard. And so, you know, I'm somebody that needed that time to develop and see how other guys were doing it and learn from behind the scenes to then when there's an opportunity, finally be able to get it. I think it's hard what's happening in the NFL with guys playing right away. I mean, I'd love to see all these guys get 2-3 years to develop, but ready, you know, other teams, certain teams aren't ready for that. They want guys right now. And, you know, I think what Arch Manning's got going on at Texas is awesome, just personally, because you got a family that knows ball that says, hey, go in there, be humble, learn, and wait your turn. Let Quinn Ewers be the guy. And you got a guy now that's just ready to run with it for 3 years whenever but he's been in it for 2.5. So I mean, it's tough. It's tough.
I agree.
I think the hardest part for a lot of these kids is like, in a combination is, and I mean, you call me old or whatever, like the society we built, social media, like whatever it is, especially around these athletes, whether you're 18-year-olds or 80, the hardest thing I think right now is to be honest with yourself and who you are, right? Like everybody sees these NIL deals, everybody sees these stars, everybody sees this social media shit and goes, that should be me. I deserve that. With the transfer portal and all this stuff, hey, I'm not getting the opportunities. I'm the one, like, I'm not being like given the opportunity, right? I came into a situation at Boise where I didn't know my job. So I felt fortunate to even have the opportunity. I just don't want to let anybody down. So I just worked. Like, I never expected to be a starter. I just want to make sure I wasn't embarrassing my mom in the state. Like, that's all I wanted to do. I want to get my education paid for. I wasn't looking at the NFL. I didn't think I deserved anything. But this team, whether it's this team or any team around the nation, 90% of that team is going to always be built out for the guys that don't have the NIL deals, that don't. NIL money is no different than NFL money, is no different than the real world money, right? 10% of the guys make 90% of the money. That is how the world works. The rest of us make the cogs and make the widgets and figure everything out. That's what the guys in college football are still doing. You are the bread and butter, the brick and mortar of what this team's going to be. And you get to decide that culture. The other guys, they're going to come and go. They're going to try to transfer. They're going to do whatever they're going to do. The NFL's not hiring any more dudes. The NFL hasn't drafted a single extra player since we opened up the transfer portal or NIL. That means you have the same opportunities you had yesterday to go to the NFL, right? And somebody's going to get taken in the 7th round. And it's not going to be the dude who's got $1 million NIL deal. It's going to be the dude who works his ass off, shows up, plays special teams, is willing to play a different position, and is a grinder and a guy who just does his job. But every one of these dudes wants to be a star. And I get that, right? Because that is what social media has told you and coaches have told you and your mom's told you, right? My mom sat me down and said, you are nothing special. Get your college education paid for, work your ass off and see what happens, right? But the problem is we told them all they're special. But the fact of the matter is the brick and mortar of what makes Boise great is those 90% of guys. We will get flashes in the pan. We'll pull a dude in that's a 4-star, 5-star, 3-star. We'll get those dudes that'll come here to win and have a chance.
They want to stay because
of what we're doing here. But they'll want to stay because the 90% of the rest of the
For
team,
sure.
those brick and mortar guys that keep this thing churning day in and day out.
There's a lot of people in college football, and I wouldn't even go down to high school football as you deal like they need a reality check.
Oh
yeah.
It's all instant gratification
it's
is
all
what they're
cool.
wanting, and that's not.
And
how you
I
become
absolutely get it. Like, I totally get it. Like, it is a money grab, right? I was one of the dudes, like, just my generation was one of the dudes that they were like, hey, thanks for playing. Here's a tap on the butt. We'll see you later. Good luck. Now, I made it in the NFL. Great. Awesome. But a bunch of guys like that I played with left and said, here's reality. Like, the real world just hit pay taxes.
They got a free beer at
Yeah, they don't know. So I told her, hey,
Yeah.
if I had been here at that era with the success that I had, and somebody would have said, like, hey, you want to go to Georgia, you want to go to Texas? I have no idea. Like, I came from blue collar family, no money. Like, there was no money. But if somebody had offered me $200,000 to go play football, I don't know what I would have done.
Yeah.
Thank God I didn't have that option. So I just got to keep my nose down and finish my career here. So I don't judge the dudes for doing it. I think the hardest thing is to look at yourself and admit to yourself the reality of what you are in the situation you're in, accept that role and play it to the best of your ability, where everybody else is. There's so many dudes out there looking for a different part. Like, that, dude, you're not Leonardo, right?
Yeah.
You don't get to play the main role. Like, that's not your job. Your job's to be your job is to be the stick man. Like, be the stick man and do it at 100%.
For sure.
Right?
111th.
And the last quick part, just on that, just put a bow on it. I think it's still, I mean, we're talking about 18 to 22-year-olds, right? And the decision-making process is influenced too, not just by them and what they think their situation is, but now you got parents, and like I was involved in the recruiting process. I met a lot of great parents. I also met a lot of parents that had too much influence and too much of what they wanted for their kid. And I think that's a tough part because, like I referenced, I mean, if I would have wanted or could have been able to transfer 3 years in at Boise State, I wouldn't have been transferred for the right reasons. I can tell you that. It would have been a mentality of, I don't think I'm liked here. I need to go somewhere else where I can start. But like for all the wrong reasons. The best thing that could happen to somebody in those times is to be put right back in the same spot and say, figure it out. Right. And so that's what we're losing a little bit is, and DC, touched on it, but it's like, these kids that are a part of the program, I think about Tubes and some of these guys that I like that are part of it. Even Deuce, man, that's the best player in the country that could have gone and stayed. Now you got a whole team behind you that when you're out there balling or doing stuff on the field, you got these brothers that you didn't just, and no disrespect to anybody that transferred in, but you didn't just come in and met you 3 months ago. You've been here with me for 3-4 years, and that's what builds it, man. That's what builds.
That's why Coach D is so special too, because he was one of those guys as a coach that could have gone anywhere. He was getting opportunities to leave, go to big SEC, different schools like that, and he was like, "No, I want to be here." And now that he's the head coach, everybody sees that, and they just want to follow him. And but we also have a question from Nathaniel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Question.
Is that for me?
Yes.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, question I have for you, Daryn and Taylor, is in the NFL, both of you played with Brett Favre in one form or another. What's your best stories about playing with Brett Favre?
Do you want to start? Or do you want me to start?
My favorite stories with Brett Favre. You should take this one.
I should take this one. Sadly, I think everybody just saw the diagnosis on Brett. So shout out to him. That's tough. Brett. I mean, there's so many great stories about Brett, but like, just Brett was the most normal dude you ever met, as in the fact, like, he was a dude living on his couch with a golden arm, right? Like, he was what you expected your uncle to look like on the most days, like cigarette in the mouth kind of guy, and then would just go out and throw rockets at people. You're like, okay, this is a dude. The funny thing was, in the NFL, like, I came in the NFL, I'm 24 years old. I'm just recently married, and I'm like, hey, Brett's going to be this like guy. He's a teammate. And then all of a sudden you realize he's old, but he's like 34. And I'm like, at that time, I'm like, this dude is the oldest person in the world. And here's me like 6 years past that, 8 years past that now. And I'm like, oh yeah, he didn't want to deal with my crap, dude. He was trying to raise a family and his kids. But one of my best stories about Brett was, I can't even remember the game. Doesn't really even matter. We're down in this crucial situation, down on the red zone. No crap. We're like the 5-yard line. Can't hear a thing coming in. We've made the call. I get in my stance. The center's calling the mic. I'm ID, and I'm talking to the left guard. I'm in the left tackle. I'm trying to make the idea. I'm watching the shifts in the red zone. Although the red zone's like this tight, I'm trying to see. I'm like, this dude's breathing wrong. He's definitely coming. And all of a sudden, I feel his hands slide underneath me and give me the raise. And I'm like, what the? And I start grabbing Brett's hands, and I'm like, you got to move over, man. You got to move over. But we can't hear me because it's so loud in the stadium. And he's like, oh, man, that's not the ass I know. He slides over under Scott and puts his hands underneath him and does the deal. And I'm like, just Brett. Like, that was Brett. He was a comedian in the worst scenarios, in the best of scenarios. He was just, I remember we played in the playoffs against Seattle. We're in a crucial game at home against Seattle, trying to make it to the championship game. And I mean, it's one of those like fourth quarter. It's like, hey, we've got to have this drive, and we're waiting. We come out from the TV timeout. We're in the huddle, and I'm expecting this Brett Favre speech, man. I'm like, you gotta hype me up, dude. It's my second year in the league. We're gonna go to the championship game. If we can make this drive. And he looks us all and he's like, guys, get in here, listen in. Take this in. He's like, look, it's snowing. He's like, look at this scene. And we know everybody stopped, took a look back, and I mean, it looked like a snow globe. And he was just like, dude, how cool is it right now? All right, let's go. Here's the play. And it was just one of those things. It was like, hey, man, take a breath. Like, take a reality check. Like, here we are. Like, calm down. Like, let's just go out and get this drive. And we got it done. We end up, going to meet the Giants the next week and losing. But it was one of those things where it's like just one of those moments where a guy that was a leader took a moment and said, hey, I know what everybody needs. Like, let's just needs to relax a little. Yeah, let's relax. Let's enjoy the moments we're in and take them for what they are. And then let's go and rip somebody's throat out. But if we can.
One of the best football play stories I ever heard was Favre. The Packers signed a undrafted free agent tight end or whatever, and Steele.
Yeah,
and he comes in and he's there, and his first play, he gets in team drills. It's on the goal line. He's the third tight end. They call him naked. They roll out. He's like, Favre could have run it in. He could have thrown it 3 other guys. I'm like 4 yards away from him, and he throws a laser right through my face mask. He's like, I don't even have time to get my bounces off. And he's like, I go back to the huddle, and Favre's laughing his ass off at the rookie. And Steele's like, screw you, man. They're going to cut me tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. I don't care about you.
Definitely.
Yeah.
He ended up making it. He was good.
He made it. He was all right.
My NFL story I love to tell is not one that's favorable for me. And I didn't play with Brad, and I'm a John Elway guy, born and raised there. But so I'm with Carolina Panthers in 2008, and this is they've just been to the Super Bowl maybe a year or two prior. Jake Delhomme is at elbow surgery. So I go to the mini camp, and it's not a rookie only mini camp. Everybody's there. And I mean, there's everybody you could think of is on that team. Steve Smith, Nazir Muhammad, Julius Peppers. It was really cool. And it's a 3-day mini camp with everybody there. And I'm getting reps with the threes. I'm a rookie, undrafted free agent. And I'm picking everything up. I think I'm doing a good job. And I get in a 7-on-7 rep. And the receivers were on a different rotation than the quarterbacks. So all of a sudden I'm in, day 2, practice 3. And I look to my left and right, and I got the starting receiver crew, Steve Smith and Nazir Muhammad. And I'm like, holy crap, this is crazy. And Steve is an incredible receiver, blown away. Well, they call a 787 route in our terminology, double post corner, middle open, double flat. And so here's what happened. So Steve's out there. Obviously, I'm looking to Steve Smith's side. And
good decision.
I'm looking
feels
there,
like it's a solid choice.
7-on-7. I'd like to throw the ball to that dude. And the corner's playing high and outside. And I'm at this point in my career, early, actually non-existent career, just telling myself I got to get completions, right? You just got to get completions. So I drop back, and on my 5th step of a 7-step drop, Steve Smith's breaking the post route before he breaks the corner. And the corner's I'm all over it, guys, looking at me. And so I just quickly throw a flat route before Steve breaks the corner route and makes the cornerback fall over. Okay, made him look like an idiot. And so he's just embarrassed this cornerback, and I've thrown the ball already to the fullback. So anyway, he comes back he's like coming back, he's trotting back, he's pissed. He doesn't even know my name. Okay. So he's just yelling, hey, rookie, in front of the entire offense. Hey, rookie. And everybody's listening. I'm like, I don't know what to say. I'm like, yeah, Mr. Smith, like, yeah. What's up? He's like, what'd you see out there? And I legitimately think he's like, oh, well, tell me what you thought. So I'm like, I start explaining how I saw the corner high and outside. I still don't know he made the dude fall over. And and he just interrupts me in front of the entire offensive staff. And I'm like, oh, I saw the corner outside. He goes, no, shut the fuck up. Sorry, BJ. And he goes, throw me the goddamn ball. Throw me the goddamn ball. And then went on with his business, got back in the huddle. I think I went back. The offense coordinator, Mike McCoy, was like pretty much like, welcome to the NFL, dude. Like,
throwing the ball.
Smith. Yeah, that was it.
Speaking of the Denver Broncos, I did see somebody here gave your dad a promotion. He was nice. GM of the Denver Broncos.
Oh, nope.
That was
my dad.
Not accurate. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was the athletic director at Colorado.
Dick Tharp.
We'll get that straight. Shout out.
Maybe did he moonlight?
What
moonlight is the Denver OC.
Yeah. Baby dad was pretty sweet, man.
He was sneaking out on weekends.
They brought him out of retirement.
I just wanted a way to bring up Dick Tharp on.
Yeah, dad was AD at CU for like 8-9 years. So through my high school, middle school years, I mean, I'm a diehard Buff fan, and that's just because we were there every game.
Absolutely.
Coach Barnett, my dad, still best friends. Like, yeah, it's.
So are we going to dive into culture and concepts for the Colorado?
No.
I'm just asking. Okay.
Hail Marys, man. Hail Marys.
Yeah.
Daryn, there was a question for you, Daryn, about deciding to join the National Guard after your football career. And what's your greatest memory from serving? Ryan wanted to know.
Bringing kids home, bringing dudes back. Like, I knew who I was. I was 34 years old when I joined the Guard. I always wanted to serve. I came from like everybody knows on the show so far, North Pole, Alaska. Yeah, I came from a community where you did what your dad did, or you got a chance to join the military and get out. I was lucky enough to play college football. I always wanted to join the military, always wanted to do it, wanted to come back and serve my community here in Boise. Joined the Guard to do it. Plus, they let me fly in helicopters, do cool things. But I wasn't a hero, never kicked doors down, wasn't an infantry grunt, didn't stab terrorists in the face or anything like that. But I had the chance to be a medevac crew chief, and I knew that I had a chance to bring kids home and bring them back to their families and their loved ones, and got a blessed opportunity to do that. Brought a bunch of them back, didn't bring them all home, but had a chance to bring a few home. And that was
probably a lot of people would say that is a hero. So
what made you decide to do that in the first place?
You know what? Actually, the community I grew up in, I grew up between two military bases. I grew up between Fort Wainwright and Eielson Air Force Base. Spent a lot of time around military, played military schools when I was in high school. Knew that was going to be my way out of North Pole, Alaska. Had a coach that believed in me, gave me a chance, threw the tape out there. Then Dan Hawkins and Boise State took a chance. Well, actually, I guess Dirk Cutter took a chance on me before he bailed on me and left Arizona State and didn't take me along. So I must not have been that good. But knew that was going to be my way out. Ended up taking a different route. Had a ton of family that served. My brother served, all those kind of things. When we won the Super Bowl, I spent a lot of time getting to do USO tours, Navy entertainment tours, spent a lot of time overseas. And that was kind of the shifting point in my career. I was actually ready to leave for the NFL after my 5th year, after we won the Super Bowl, but knew I had a chance at a second contract and a chance to take care of a lot of people in my family and finish that up. When I got done in the NFL, everybody was taken care of. My kids' college was paid for. The in-laws were paid, the house was paid off. I joined the military for this community because I wanted to serve it, but it was a selfish decision. It was a chance for me to do something that I had a passion for and really, really wanted to do. I'm an aviator in my normal life, and a chance to fly in Blackhawks and hang out was an awesome opportunity. I've gotten to fight fire in this community. I've gotten to do search and rescue. I've gotten to serve overseas, and I've gotten to get kids home. I tell everybody, like, my service, as much as everyone wants to call it service, was one of the most selfish things I've ever done in my life. I put my wife totally on the call and said, hey, take care of the kids. I'm going to go to war. Take care of the kids. I'm going to go to basic and all that kind of stuff. And she is stood up and done every time. She served it as much as I have. So, but it was an absolute selfish decision that gets to be hid in this veil of service. I wanted to do it for me because I have taken care of everybody else. And it was just a chance to do something that I really, really wanted to do. And it was the best 6 years of my life. And if I wasn't old, beat up, and all that kind of stuff, I'd probably still be doing it.
That's awesome. Yeah, thanks for your service.
No doubt.
No,
That's great.
Seriously, I just told the story. Don't thank me. Like, no matter
for
how
your
much money you make in the NFL, they won't let you do the things I got to do in the NFL. They'll like pay you minimum wage to shoot at people. Like, it's the totally weirdest thing. I loved my service. I loved the men I got to serve with. It was an awesome experience. The men and women that I got to spend my life with and go to Afghanistan with. I mean, people that weren't in my situation, not in my world, weren't there because it was the only thing they could do. They were there because they needed to do it or had a will to do it. Put their lives on the line for people they'll never ever get to meet. Those were the people that shifted me to the other side and put me in that place. Like, I wanted to serve. Like, I got to spend time on ships in the Middle East, when I played with people that hadn't seen their families in 6 months, didn't know what the news was, that we were like smuggling booze in magazines because they haven't even called their families, like breaking all the rules. But to meet people like that were willing to put it all on the line for people they'd never met, I mean, that was like,
absolutely,
that was crazy. And that shifted my goals in my life and really started me on a trajectory of, when was I going to wrap up my NFL career and when was I going to finally raise my hand and serve? And I'd probably still be doing it to this day had I not gotten cancer and hadn't gotten old and been raising 2 daughters. And frankly, it's hard to look at them and think about serving. And I still have buddies that I serve with that are doing it when I don't have to. So my thanks are to them.
How similar was the brotherhood like going?
Exact same. I tell everybody that the thing you miss most about the NFL is the money. That's the easy decision. The second thing you miss most about the NFL is the locker room and the brotherhood and the stuff that we have here that Taylor and I, like all those things that you build up with those guys, the guys I lean on that I see at the reunions, the Kishbas that are running around town, the guys I played with that I'm involved with my wine company, that brotherhood, the locker room, that is so hard to replace. The military was just another uniform and another locker room for a hell of a lot less money, but the same exact mentality, a bunch of people on the same goal and the same path trying to accomplish the same task. And that was the when I first got in there, that was the easiest thing that I recognized. I'm great at getting yelled at. Rid was part of that education. I can get yelled at and do a job. So when I went to boot camp, I was like, okay, guys, like lean in me. I've been called everything. Like I played at Rice. Like there's gonna be things you guys don't even know that they were willing to yell. So that's awesome. That made it super easy. I tell everybody that was the hardest transition about leaving the NFL is missing that locker room and that competition. Going to the military was like that was the next brotherhood, the next group, and that was great.
Yeah. And that brotherhood stays strong, even with you guys and Tharp coming back and being a coach for us and being our commissioner.
I was just going to say, hey, Tharp, so after you finish, Daryn obviously has a great story. Like, go ahead, follow that one up. What have you been up to?
There is a question from a Joel Schneider in there, too, if you want to get to that at some point.
From a
Joel Schneider?
I don't know.
Thank goodness.
Never heard of her.
Never
heard of her.
Whenever you're ready.
Never
have I ever.
Let's do the Joel Schneider question so I don't have to follow up Daryn again.
He wants to know, is there any job in the world better than being the Bronco Olympics commissioner?
There we go.
There we go.
From one commission to another.
I never got offered that job. That's why I had to go the other route.
Tharp was so good at it. Nobody could.
I appreciate that.
Joel was legit at it too, though.
Joel was good.
He had big shoes to fill, but Tharp, Tharp was the man.
Joel's a former guest of the show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I will say, so 6 years I served on staff, right? Riley was there for a lot of them.
Yep.
Had multiple different jobs from player personnel, ops, all this stuff. Yeah. Hands down, the most fun I could have.
And most pressure.
Most pressure is running the Bronco Olympics.
Don't show up.
The commissioner of the Bronco Olympics, because there is an expectation that's unparalleled.
Yeah.
Or maybe one I put on myself.
There would,
Yeah.
there would be nothing worse than showing up as the commish and bombing in front
Yeah.
of them.
Oh,
And
yeah.
for those
I mean,
that don't
They
know,
would have booed everybody off.
There's
the
not a
stage, would
harder
have been-
audience than
It is.
120, football
Yeah.
guys. Right?
and those that don't know, is it's the middle of fall camp, and we do our Bronco Olympics where the coaches draft players, and we make a team. We do skits, we do a bunch of fun stuff, but it all starts out with an opening ceremony where the commissioner comes out. Pretty much, you could be a stand-up comedian the way that you.
Tharp, that would have been his calling.
Yeah,
The
to be a
commish.
stand-up
the
comedian.
commish.
That's not a bad. You should
No,
make a push for the NFL
I've
commish.
got
You
this
could.
like weird knack that I've continued with like any of my Title I folks out there. I love the performance side. Like for whatever reason, I didn't discover this till later in life, but I really enjoy kind of getting into a character, honestly, or like being in front of the group, and maybe it's poking fun. So like the Bronco Olympics it wasn't all serious. I'd say the hardest part about that job is I'm asking you guys to do stuff during your downtime, right? It's fall camp. You got a lot of football going on, and I've been tasked with the duty of creating events and competitions, intermixed with all that. And while you guys have a 2-hour lunch break, I'm like, you guys got to come back an hour early and do putt golf around the facility, or we got to come back after dinner one night when we could all go home and do the trivia night where I would, dress up as Steve Irwin, Crocodile, or Borat, I did Borat. Anyway, I had a lot of fun with that stuff.
What a gift.
I mean,
I'm sorry I missed that because our
you are
generation,
sorry
we
you
didn't
missed
have,
it.
we
we
didn't have
had
that
fun
generation.
stuff though. I mean, like,
What did we have? We didn't.
But
We
we
never
had-
had a Joel
we had
Schneider.
skits, so we had the talent show. We won't go into those
We can't go
details
down that
today.
road.
Can't
But
go
we
down
had
that.
That's not allowed anymore.
Obviously things have changed, but I'd say with these guys in the 6 years I was on staff, like, it came down to what can you do to create some competition outside of ball, have some fun, and then also a lot of fun. And fall camp is monotonous, right? It's 3 weeks
dog
of
days.
football and grind. And so
It's
being
only 3 weeks now.
well,
Oh, weird.
geez, yeah.
I will say one of the hardest things of all time was like we would always do the points reveal or whatever.
Yeah.
Tharp would get up there, the whole place is losing their mind, and then be like over and be like, all right, special teams.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, normal meetings.
Right
you,
back
you
to
walk
you.
up,
I
you
know.
walk up there and you'd be like, yeah, it's gonna be a tough one to
The
follow.
best thing I ever happened in fall camp. There's only 2 things that ever happened in fall camp. There was no fun like that. There was the talent show. The only other fun outside with that was Dan Hawkins would be like, ice cream truck. That showed up once.
Yeah.
And then one day we went to Roaring Springs.
Right.
Like that was it. And that was like between a triple day. That was like, we're only going to do a double day, guys. But after the double day, we're going to go to Roaring Springs.
Roaring Springs was great until one of the old linemen got de-pantsed.
That is neither here nor
Ended
there.
The whole thing.
That is neither
but
here
no.
nor there. We've never been back since.
All right. So DC, you don't have this, and Rid, you were gone. So the Fiesta Bowl year, or maybe it had to have been either the Fiesta Bowl year or maybe after going in. The best skit that ever happened in fall camps, this was 06, 07. So Coach Pete, Clayton Adams,
Clayton Adams,
Shut-
5'10",
maybe,
290.
maybe Chris Strasser. No, gosh, I can't remember the 4 staff members. They got into character and sang Afternoon Delight, the skit from
Anchorman.
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 And so you had Coach Pete up there, and you had all these guys. And again, it was fun to see, like, the coaches were doing a little fun.
Yeah.
And they went and sang, and Coach Pete was playing the role of Brick. It was,
Perfect.
it was so good.
Perfect.
It was so funny. I still remember that. But I mean, shoot, I had a lot of fun. I still, like, if there was one job I could go back and just do, like,
They should
contract
bring
me
you-
out for 3 weeks to come in
They
and just run
should.
the
What, hey,
Olympics.
Spence,
And I'll
you
bring
paying
Joel.
attention?
I'll bring Joel Snyder with me. 'Cause Joel was always
they
the
might
man.
Joel
take
did
you
a
up
good
on that.
job.
Yeah.
If you and Joel
Coach
agree
D,
to come back,
you're
like,
listening?
yeah.
Yes.
I won't require a very large NIL deal. I promise you.
I hope Coach D's tuning in.
I don't know who's doing
I
it.
I
It's
bet
probably
he's
really
not,
good.
but we have
They're gonna
ways
put it in
of
front of him.
making making that
I'm
available?
gonna sneak
Yeah,
in
I
the
think
facility
that
for
would
that.
be
We gotta
good.
find a way to see
You
that.
might- 'cause that
I'll
was
take
so
whatever
busy.
you're giving Dirk before he became OC again. Like I'll take that. I'll take that early Dirk money.
And you
for
always
showing up.
had every time you opened, you always went for Pitt and you always went for Dale.
Oh yeah, so that was
It
the
was
best
the
part.
Pit Viper.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
dangerous.
Oh,
It was
So
a
you got
dangerous
material
call.
right that you know the team's gonna love.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And you had certain guys you could poke fun at, and then you had always Coach Pitt was on the table. And Pitt and I had this like love-hate thing. I played for him, and so gosh, I loved grinding.
Oh, it was the
Pitt.
best.
Yeah, I loved it.
The
And there
best was
some
when
good,
Nikolai was on the team.
Oh man,
yeah.
easy material. Easy
Easy.
material.
Valid.
Easy.
Nick is the best Pitt imitation of anybody.
Yes.
He does.
It's like it's natural. Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty good.
Hey, so as we wind this up, though,
We're winding this
I
up.
do know.
I thought we were going
Well, we could
to keep
go all
going
night.
3 or 4 hours.
But one of the this is a good question.
Tharp's outta here.
Tharp can use
Okay,
the
I-
restroom, but
He's like, don't ask me. I can't.
but
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I do believe there was like a fishing trip to Alaska that Pitt may have gone on with you and some of the Packers.
There was absolutely that.
I just
happened.
want to know, did Pitt catch any fish at all?
Pitt actually did catch fish. So
Because his story
This is-
he caught all the fish
he caught it.
and nobody
And
else did
wrestled
any.
with
Yeah,
grizzly
that's
bear
not
every-
that's not necessarily true. But so we fished for 3 days. One was Ocean Day, 2 days were River Day. On Salmon Day, which was second day of River Day, he caught one of the only fish we were legally allowed to keep. So we happened to catch it on a day where we were allowed to keep hatchery, couldn't keep wilds. He caught one of the only hatcheries we caught that day and got to keep it. The story about Pitt that he won't tell at that story though was Ocean Day. We show up and it's like your typical Alaska, like it's not nice day. And the captain gives us this look. So here's 7 offensive linemen, Pitt, my father's there guiding us. So we got 8 guys on this boat. Guy's got a really nice boat and he goes, hey, nobody's going out today, but I've got a nice boat. If you want to go out, we can go out, but it's not going to be great. It's going to be a little rough. And of course, it's 6 offensive linemen in Pitt. Everybody gives everybody a look like, well, we're going out. We're a bunch of men. This is going to happen. So I tell everybody like, hey, here's the deal, man. I've been on the ocean. I lived in Alaska. Like, let's be in the back of the boat. Don't get stuck in the cabin. Watch out for the exhaust. Like, watch the shore. Like, here's all the ways to not get sick. Pitt, frankly, doesn't listen to me like most things Pitt does. And we're about 45 minutes into the boat ride out to where we're going to fish. And it's just wham, wham. We're dropping these 4-foot waves. The boat's just getting beat up. Pitt walks out of inside the cabin where I told him not to be, walks out to the back of the boat where I'm hanging out with my dad and a couple of the other guys talking, and looks at me. If the people that know who Pitt is, like, looks me dead in the eye and goes, hey, if a dude was going to throw up off the boat, what side would he throw up off of? And I'm like, the side nobody's on, Pitt, over there. He's like, okay. Like, I mean, just hammers the ocean. I mean, chums this thing for a good, 4 or 5 minutes, pulls it together. We make out the last 15 minutes, and he's fishing off the side of the boat. He's reeling in fish, having a great time. Pulls in probably his somewhere between, well, if you talk to him, somewhere between his 3rd and 15th fish, and goes, I'm done. Lays down on the side of the boat, literally like right up against the gunnels, and falls asleep to try to get through the sickness. And then it's the hour ride back home. Wham, wham. So that was Pitt. Pitt fished his butt off. Pitt was also the only dude to throw up off the boat. So
yeah, he definitely didn't tell that side of it.
yeah, no. Yeah. Pitt's
I've seen lots of pictures though. There were definitely some pictures.
Pitt's hard ass. I love Pitt to death. Obviously out doing his thing for the Bengals. Running around. Pitt's a big reason I'm the man I am. I tell him all the time. The funny thing was I ran into Pitt 3 or 4 years ago, and he walked in and he was just like, hey man, was I too hard on you guys? And I was like, I had to look around. I was waiting for Ashton Kutcher to come out. I was like, is somebody trying to get me? This is the hard ass dude I grew up with. What are you talking about? And he's like, I was like, no, man. He's like, Yeah, that's right. I made you guys tough. And I'm like, yeah, man, we're good, man. We're great. We had a great run together. So I love Pitt to death. Would still do anything for him.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Except maybe fish with him again. I don't know. that's short.
That's awesome.
We'll have to get Paul Allen on here and tell a hunting story at some point.
Oh my God, goats?
Yeah.
No, never mind. We won't talk about his. We won't talk about his big
another day. But awesome, guys. As we wind it down and put a bow on it,
Tharp just got back.
Oh man, thanks, boys. I the last 15 or so.
You got to go.
Yeah, I had to go. I thought
And
BJ was having a commercial break a while ago.
Like an O-line, in your like they're, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't seem right if I didn't take all the reps and Tharp got a few off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I want to give Daryn.
No, I got one more
spotlight.
that was a.
Yep.
Okay. Only
Let's talk
because on the
Saturday.
special teams question.
Yeah.
Special teams
somebody
question.
fired up. Was I think it said, Daryn, you made some great special teams plays. We don't beat Hawaii in what was that, like 04?
Oh,
without
one of the only times I had 2 blocks.
Yep. Daryn Colledge, 2 blocks, blocked an extra point,
returned by the same guy.
Orlando Scandrick score on both.
Yeah.
I think Quentin Jones returned a punt that game.
Yeah.
Also fumbled one, but
I think I still have the tattoo from the stitch in my arm.
But I think that goes back to, here's Daryn, like already at that point, like for sure all conference O-line, I think all American O-line, playing on special teams on defense, blocking punts and literally or field goal. Sorry.
Yeah.
But we don't win that game if Darren's not doing that. Dorothy, you were there. I mean, it was an unbelievable game.
Yeah. No, I was it at home
at Hawaii.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I hated playing at Hawaii.
I definitely would have not been on the travel squad. No, I don't think. Yeah,
Really?
It's okay. No, I was special teams wise. I was a good holder. though.
Yes, you were.
Yeah, good holder.
Now this Sanford will fire in a question that he was better. So.
Sanford.
You know, the funny thing was, Coach asked if I could go out and do it, and I was super excited to do it because most people don't remember. Back then, Hawaii used to play out of 2 points.
Yeah.
Like on offense. So on special teams, they played out of 2 points too. And I was like, I'm going to hit one of these dudes in the mouth.
Like 7 yards.
So hard.
Literally, he might have blocked it.
I blocked it with my elbow. And I was
so
like,
deep in the back.
yeah, by the third time they actually got 3 points because they got tired of it. I'm like, this is the best thing I could ever do. But I hated playing at Hawaii. I tell everybody because it was always the last game of the year. It was always one of the worst games of the year because like every time I went to Hawaii, I was like, we would go because we had the first day off. And we would go down and rent mopeds and the little carts, and we look like a broke Snoop Dogg video, right? Like it's a bunch of college kids sharing mopeds.
Everything you coaches told us.
Yeah,
not
don't
to
do. We're
Yeah.
doing it. We're down on Waikiki Beach, and I'm down there, and I'm like, why am I playing football? I'm like, there's a dude living under this bridge who's living a better life than me, and I'm like, why do I want to play football? Like this is like I could be doing this here, and we would barely win that game every year. And here's me as an idiot.
But
like,
we won.
Yeah, but we won. But here's me as an idiot. Like Dan Hawkins is like, guys, if we win this game tonight, we're staying tonight and we're gonna have a good time. Then we'll leave tomorrow. Not knowing the Jets already booked. Like I'm like, not knowing Dan Hawkins doesn't have the power to reroute the FAA and the flight. Like the flight's booked. I'm like, all right. We're going to win. We're going to go out tonight. We're going to enjoy this. Now, have we broken a few elevators? Is there some videos out there? Like, yeah,
story.
That stuff has happened. But I always hated that game. Always loved that game.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We played there.
Off, Tharpy.
Tharpy.
Give us your, whatever you want. Tell your story.
There he was.
Well, we played Hawaii senior year. No, you know what story I need to tell? I need to tell the Jovan Hutchinson touchdown story.
Yes, you did.
Oh, okay.
Because my man, the V's, got a little bit of a bad story earlier as far as the tattoo. It was a funny story. But so if those of you that don't know Jovan Hutchinson's story, it's truly remarkable, right? It's
One of
like
the best practice dudes.
I mean, the V's is one of the. You ask anybody that was on the team with Jovan, you know, the guy was loved by his players. Now there was times where he's kind of a second, third string receiver, and he thinks he's the first string receiver. There's moments of that, but like you ask anybody that played on that team, like there's so much love. And now nowadays you run into him, like he's one of the best dudes. Well, so he was a senior. This was senior day, and he'd never really scored. He had not scored a touchdown in a game. And I'd been growing a relationship with the V's through being like, spring scrimmages, practice reps with the threes, just little stuff where like we'd get in the huddle and V's would come in and like, he's like, they call 989 all go routes. And he's like, Tharpy, throw me the ball. Like,
he's the Steve Smith of your third string like route running. Gotcha.
And so he was also great because like
energy.
Yeah, energy. And I'm talking like talking trash to the start and D. Like he just had a way about him, but like he loved football.
Yeah.
He was passionate about it and he wanted to succeed. Like, and so this story goes where like we're in a blowout game and it's senior day. And I still like joke about it, but kind of true. Like I've never felt as much pressure as this drive because I think everybody in the stadium, there'd been a story. That's right. A story in the paper about Jovan and like senior day and everything he'd persevered, gone through in life. And to get to this point, all he wanted to do was score a touchdown, like said it in the paper.
Yeah.
So, and at this point, like everybody wants the V's to score. And I'm in the game. And so we're driving. We're trying to put together a drive to get down there. I think we might have tried to take a shot. So we call the red fade, right? The classic red zone fade.
Yep.
And we're up 40. So, and I mean, the whole stadium knows what we're doing.
Yeah.
The whole team knows what we're doing. And I mean, so as the guy, I'm kind of like, gosh, I got to give him a good ball.
Yeah.
Like this would be, I think it was third down. Pete and the staff probably not going to like go for it. So we got one shot and we throw a fade up there. And I think he gets like PI'd, like dude pulls on him. And just by like everything coming together in that moment, he comes down with it. And what happens after that is the whole sideline, like we got like 2 penalties because the whole sideline, everybody,
literally the whole team
runs down in the end zone and just like mobs the V's, right?
Yeah.
Jovan Hutchinson mobs him. And there's a great picture of him. I found it. I came back on staff. This is a crazy story. I got to give him this picture. And in the office I was in, under like in a drawer was this old photo. And it was all these guys holding up number 45. Like, I'm not saying it's the Rudy story, but like in a lot of ways it was that type of moment because it was a guy that had paid his dues.
When it actually happened.
Wait, what number did you say?
He was number 45.
Yeah, exactly. You're a wide receiver wearing number 45.
Was he 45?
Yeah.
Shoot, it's kind of a weird coincidence there.
You got to know who you are.
Yeah. So anyway, gave him that photo. Like later on, I saw him at an alumni event. It's like, dude, I got to give you this photo. And like, you could see it almost brought like 10 years later, brought tears to his eyes. And it's just a special moment. That's probably one of my favorite moments, like early in my career to get the V.
Yeah, you want to take care of those guys that are because they're part of the lifeblood of Boise State football.
He's the man, and I think he turned into a first stringer firefighter calendar guy, right?
Dude.
So, right. I mean, I call him small every time I see him just to mess with him.
There's
but
a few first string firefighters out there.
we got Derek Schumann out there floating around.
Oh yeah,
got a couple guys out there doing the calendar.
He's just out in Eagle fighting fires.
Yep.
Yeah,
awesome dude. Yep.
Love that dude.
So many guys that like have stories like that, then became part of this community.
Yeah, exactly.
And have done nothing but like give back, which I love. Like that's so much. That's so much the story of guys in this community. Like they came here, played ball, came from all over the country, became firefighters, cops, teachers, like members of this community that just in like as cliche as it sound, like are making Boise great. Yeah. Like they are just like part of this community, which is just amazing.
And
awesome.
And what's awesome too is like went to the game last week. I saw him there, big hug. You saw a lot of guys, like as former guys, you go back to the games, and I lived it on the staff, but then kind of a few years just watching from the couch. But now, like last year and this year coming back to games, it's such a amazing atmosphere to be around as a fan and an alum, and then to see all your brothers, right? And then to root on your new brothers.
Yeah.
And so like this weekend, man, I'm fired up to go to this game. We got babysitters for the girls. My wife and I are going down. We will be butts in seat right at 8 o'clock.
That's one thing we've been talking about. Like, how cool is it to go to the games and you see so many guys that maybe you don't run across every day in life and spend time with every day, but you see so many guys that you like, oh, hey, I played with him. I coached him. You know what I mean? From
Not just the
I'm old,
reunions,
so,
like the everyday.
You know, it's a lot of years, but it's really cool.
Yeah, I was blessed to work for our alumni association for the letter winners for a couple of years. Got to do that and bring these guys back and try to continue to grow that after COVID and bring these dudes back. And I think this week, you know, Justin Rogers taking over that position. I think we're sold, like we give alumni tickets back, and we're sold out again this week for like the amount of alumni that are not just themselves, but their families are coming back, continuing that tradition. And I'm like, those tailgates are surviving. Those guys are coming back. So it's not just reunions anymore. It's like we're coming back daily, weekly, monthly to come back and be part of the tradition and the life. And I think that's amazing. That's awesome. It's great.
We actually should mention Daryn is no longer part of the BAA.
That's
so don't call Daryn for tickets.
Like this is just
Varsity
for the players out there.
called.
Like obviously you guys didn't sign up for Athlete Network like I told you to do for the last 2 years because you don't know I don't work there anymore. There's a new guy in charge. Text him for tickets. Stop texting me for tickets.
I was about to hit you up after this.
Yeah, exactly. Like I got like my phone's blowing up. My wife's like, what is going on? I'm like, people still think I work there. Like, I'm like, come on, like pay attention to your emails. Like, do what I told you to do. Get signed up. Show up some games. This game's sold out. We're expecting the same turnout for Utah State next week. So let's get after it. Let's get a win this week, and let's celebrate next week.
No doubt. And I got to see all you guys at the game this past week. So
I don't know who you are. Like I've had enough concussions. I was like, I got barely recognized Tharp a minute ago. I just figured out that he played quarterback with me.
Hey, you run into Riley Smith outside the stadium. He had like a group of guys around. He had his hat on. He's looking, 6'5". He's doing good. He's doing good.
I'm vicariously living through all these young guys.
Just had a crew around him. He's kind of
exactly.
I had my family with me. Like, hey, Riley, good to see you. What's up, Tharp?
Yeah, he's young, hanging out with pretty girls, like having a beer. Yeah, it's great, awesome. I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, I remember.
And you know what, Riley? I totally get it. I trust me. Yeah, no, it's fun. It's really fun. You're having fun.
That was you when you were playing for the Burn.
Yeah. Dude, big man on campus.
Totally.
Big man on campus. Yeah. Remember when I used to do this for free? Not anymore. I'm not a sucker.
I could get you guys some complimentary Burn tickets.
Exactly. You want a hot dog package? I'm in there. Like, hey, why don't I do it for free anymore?
The key to getting an arena football is be on that second deck. I'll launch that thing up there. Fun times or Italian football. We didn't dive into that. We can bring us back.
I was just going to say we may have set a new record.
We have set a new record.
But we might have to bring them back later in the season.
Well, the two people that are watching, my mom, probably.
Actually, it keeps going up as this thing goes.
Oh, well, never mind. What do you guys want to lean into? Like we talk about like barbecue. Like, oh, you know what I really like to do with a nice brisket is definitely after the 8 hours, I like to wrap because I want to hold that moisture.
It was a little bit of a disappointment. We also had we probably saved ourselves 2 hours.
Yeah.
Because we had Dave Shields on deck for tonight. He had to
that could have gone a while
as a business owner.
Yeah.
But
I think I told my wife we were gonna be like 30 minutes. So she's probably like, where the hell are you right now? And she said she'd tune in, so hopefully she knows.
If we put Dave and Tharpy and Colledge on together, this thing could go all night.
I think I would just tell stories about trying to smash Dave. Like that's all I would tell. Like he would say he dominated me once. And then I'd like try to like tell stories about dominating him.
Yeah.
So.
We can get into Dave's entrepreneurial spirit.
Parties at the Mardi Gras.
There's probably a lot of people watching that were at.
I love.
They're
Dave
like
Shields.
Dave Shields ran those.
They're like, wait, that guy owes me money. Hold on, I didn't get my deposit back.
All I got to say about Dave, because he's one of my best friends still to this day, is he was a year younger, and we met. We didn't meet, but we became best friends on a trip to Jackpot. And this is a true story.
That's where all good friendships start.
This is like I was kind of hanging with the linebacker crew. There was a crew, Corey and Chukovich, all these guys. Like I became buddies with Josh Bean and Mike Altieri, is a good friend, and Dave Shields is like the class below, and kind of. You get a moment on the table with some hot dice, and you sort of become best friends. And
no doubt. Once upon a time, a jackpot with.
Well, he kept betting the field. And anybody that plays craps, like, what are you doing betting the field? And he kept winning. It's like
I follow this guy.
I'm trying to play this game right.
Yeah, future night.
Yeah, future night. We'll get into that. That's in November, December. Like we're trying to lean in. It's getting late in the year.
Yeah. So again, pregame show here tonight or Saturday night at 5
We can do it
again.
tonight too if you want.
Well, hell, I mean, might be still going. Who knows? But pregame show here at 5. Obviously, show up earlier than that because he got crowded last time. People waiting for.
It was.
Yeah, it was standing room. It was standing room only for the game. For sure.
You might see Daryn Colledge behind the bar. If he can't get in here, takes too long. Got a great tailgate over at Jackson's. Jackson's will take care of you over there, and then make sure you get into the stadium. Be loud. Have a great time. It'll be a fun atmosphere, and fired up to see the Broncos. They're playing really well, and yeah, I mean, Washington State's going to show up. They'll be ready to play, but
Yeah.
based on what I've seen, I love our chances.
Yeah.
Let's go.
No doubt. Yeah. Appreciate
Go
you guys
Broncos.
coming on. Go Broncos. It's legit. I was looking forward to this for a while. So this is awesome. We'll definitely have to do another one. Yeah. We had to hit it. It's the new standard.
I don't think anybody in here is raising the chaos flag for whoever keeps asking me. It's coming up, but not that I've heard of. So
No doubt. But appreciate you
No,
guys.
they,
about that?
they have not asked me to raise the chaos flag. I can tell you that. And I don't think
Against
they will.
Nevada.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right.
I'll bet you
Thanks.
during the
Go
potato bowl.
Broncos.
Yes, sir. Go Broncos.